Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome everyone. I am your host, White Matters, back again with another live stream. I hope that you all are feeling well. Let me know how the sound is coming through. I can hear quite a bit of an echo, must be on my side, but let me know how the sound is on the way in. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, share if you are new, and if you listen to the playback, it is now pretty much 7:34, 7:35. So I hope you all are doing well this evening. Today we're going to get into a bit of a nice conversation, nice live stream talking about fathers, talk about fatherhood, conversation which I would say is one of the things which is lacking on my channel and lacking just in general, especially when it comes to, if I want to be specific, black men. And I've got a couple of guests that are looking to join me today, Marathon Man and KB Jones, who hoping I can ask them a few questions so they can share their expertise to myself and to our fellow watchers. I got KB in the back. I'm just going to add him to the stream right now. I'm not going to delay. KB, how's it going, man?
Good evening, bro. Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, man, doing all good. How's the family? How's everything?
Yeah, everything's good, bro. Everything's good, bro. All good over here. Mike, you sounding nice and clear, by the way. Can hear you clearly. Don't worry.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. I had a bit of an echo. I was like, what's going on there? But nah, it's all good. It's all good. But, but yeah, just waiting for one of my esteemed guests, Marathon Man. He said he was going to be here. So
yeah, it's your main guest, actually.
Well, the thing is, yeah, we obviously I reached out to both of you, and I think he reached out to me just before you did. And then by the time the stream's already set up, I need to amend it. But let me amend the live stream it just to make sure I don't disrespect. How it is.
Oh, don't be silly, bro.
No. Can't be doing that kind of stuff in it. But yeah, man. Before we continue, before anything again, do you want to just I say this, but do you want to give a shout out to your channel? I'm gonna hopefully put the links in your channel. I think you're modded up, so you can do it yourself as well. So by all means, if you feel that needs to, yeah, by all means, put yourself in.
Yeah, no, I will do. Oh, bless. Yeah, everybody, please subscribe to my other channel, me and Tyree's channel, Chatting Off Podcast. It's been going really well. We're on just over 1,100 subscribers now since August, so it's going really nice. Yeah, thank you, bro. We're pushing hard. The podcast world is a whole nother. It's very similar, but it's a whole nother world. So yeah, please come and support the channel. Actually, our episode dropping this Sunday relates not exactly to this, but a little bit, because it's about mental health and upbringing. So funny enough, you're doing this episode. Yeah, we've done an episode on that already, and it's dropping this Sunday. So yeah, hope you get to see that and see what you think of that as well, bro. So yeah, feel free to review it as well, man, because we got our clips.
Yeah,
as well. So
no, that's a good chat actually, because mental health is something I really think is key that we should talk about. And yeah, absolutely. I definitely will be reviewing it and whatnot, just so that yeah, if you don't mind me reaction to it and whatnot, yeah, that's
no, feel free. No, we welcome it, man. So feel free to react. We're gonna chop it up, but obviously any bits you see of it, the episode's going to be about 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
that's roughly the length. But any particular bit, or if you stumble on a bit, you want to cut it, anything, bro, go for it, please.
Absolutely.
So first of all, the fact of this stream and doing the stream, I really appreciate. Do you want to fire away with your questions and starting off the topic and everything?
Yeah, man. Let me do it now. I mean, yeah, when Marathon Man comes in, we'll just sort of catch him up and everything. But yeah, so the first off then, so I suppose just to give you some backdrop then again, it was just about, because at the moment, here's how I see things. I see fatherhood, and you could also masculinity. I suppose they're both tied in one sense or another. The differences clearly, but clearly they're under kind of a bit of attack. And when it comes to fatherhood now, which is this topic, black fathers, is always a bit of a negative stigma, and it's always like it's almost as if you vilify before you even, before it even happens. That's how I see things. But again, questions I want to ask you, I want to see how you take to it. So this is what I want to try and bring out a bit of a different light, just to big up the fathers in it. So
thank you, bro.
No, serious, because the importance that fathers play in the role of the home is understated, and society in it. So yeah, it's something that we just need to bring out to the forefront. So let me start off with this one. Let me start off with a nice one. So, do you enjoy fatherhood? Let me start off with that one.
Good question. I do very much so. that fatherhood comes with its challenges, and especially like you're mentioning specifically being a black father. It's a challenge in itself, just being a black father that wants to be a father, which might sound strange to some, so I'll clarify what I mean. Is within our community, and it doesn't matter which part of the diaspora you're from or your background's from, it's not really in the fatherhood part of parenthood and parenting doesn't seem to be, I'm not going to say, well, probably not celebrated as much as motherhood, but that's not what I'm saying. There doesn't seem to be a notion that fatherhood, the male part of the upbringing of the children and or child, is enjoyable.
Right.
You know, it's this mundane task, and even the way people kind of describe it, provide, protect, and yeah, no, I agree with all of that, but it sounds in such a sort of stone age, stoic, stern, cold way, and I don't think it needs to be that way at all, to be perfectly honest. Now, within our community, so, sorry, bro, what was you going to say?
No. I was going to say I didn't want to cut you, but you brought something really touched on a couple of questions I was going to ask you in regards to how do you view the role and responsibility of a father? Because you mentioned how it's seen in a certain way and etc. Like that. I was like, yeah, again from the outside, that's exactly what it seems as if. So I was like, you know what? Wow, speak of the devil, Marathon Man, what's up? Big up. Blessings.
Check. Hey, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah, doing well. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Cheers.
Evening, bro.
Awesome.
Hey,
But,
big up KB. Cool, man.
Bro.
No, you come at the right time. We've not started too long into it, so we're just going through the questions, and I just went for the backstory of this live stream. Obviously, you're clearly aware of it. But the first question I asked KB was basically, do you enjoy fatherhood? And then KB was mentioning how almost the viewpoint of fatherhood roles responsibility seems quite a bit of a let's just say it's more of duty as opposed to privilege, and it's not really seen in a kind of fun light. So I wanted to ask this question, and Marathon Man, open question to both
That's
of you.
true, Yeah.
How do you view the role and responsibility of a father? I mean, obviously we're now in the year 2022, but do you still see it in the same way as probably maybe a man who's parachuted in from 1960 or 1970? How do you view the role of responsibility of a father? Open question to both.
You go first, bro.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, like it's true. It's funny, like KB says, it's amazing, but it's like a responsibility. You know what I mean? So you don't really even get time to really enjoy it. It's like whenever I'm with my boys, because I got boys, it's about teaching them to be the best they can be, making them be the most responsible, productive adults that they can be. So it is really a responsibility. You know what I mean? I enjoy doing it, but it's not fun and games. As a black father, it's about, you really got to, every minute I'm spending with my kids, it's like we might go and play football, but most of the time it's telling them, trying to make them be resilient in the face of the things that they're going to face here in the UK. So yeah, it's amazing, but like I say, it's a duty. It really is a duty and responsibility. Yeah.
My aunt, I would agree with that. I would also say is the age we are being men. I won't even. Can I say being black men as well? I guess so, but I'll just say being men.
It's just men, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I was going to say men specifically, because I think that, and this is no fault on any woman's part, but men, the way society is set up is that we get to see unfairly. Some people might class it as unfairly. I don't necessarily, but I think we get to see society in the cold, hard truth way it is. I'm not saying every female gets an easy ride through life, but the way society's now been structured is trying to it tries to cotton a lot of females as into certain realities in life, right? And so as a dad and as a male, knowing that life can be very multifaceted. I think we need to teach our children to be multi-layered, both boys and girls. And what I mean by multi-layered is the fact that as a boy that you're going to turn into a man, there's going to be certain stereotypes put on you, not even as a black man, because I'm not trying to. The thing is that with my son, right? He knows he's black, but I don't keep reminding him that he's a black man. I just remind him that he's a man. Full stop. You're competing with everybody. You're competing with everybody. You're not just a black man, because he's then going to pigeonhole himself in the way he moves through society, who he feels like he can and can't compete with, and etc. No. So you have to learn that as well. But at the same time, obviously, being the man, there's going to be certain responsibilities on you. But I'm also trying to teach him little things within himself that will get him through, like structure of time. You know, there's certain things he wants to do in the day. So I've started to get him to set his alarms for every, whatever the 2 hours or 1 hour gap of the different things he wants to do and needs to do, to structure his day out, to realize that there is 24 hours in a day. Because again, I think men have sort of lost this way of thinking of how to run and push society. So I think you need to be multi-layered within that as well. And also as well, because a lot of us have been brought up, you know, mainly by just mums, to be honest. We're sort of, I've said this before, I feel like we're playing catch up. So now there's more information out there. Now more of these honest conversations are happening between the adults, us guys now. We now know what we did or didn't have, felt like we lacked or didn't lack. So,
and you know what? Sorry to quick Gabe, because that was the point. I swear, you guys are almost reading off some of the questions that I had to pay.
Bro, I'm behind you. You can't see me.
Yeah? Honest to God, I'm like, you guys already know what I'm going to ask you both. But you mentioned there regarding, I suppose you guys are almost playing catch up because maybe your father went in your life, or maybe the father who was in your life, maybe you didn't feel was a good enough role model. So it's kind of a two-part question to this. Then is, did you see many male role models in your life in terms of a father figure that you thought, you know, let me pat myself after that? Or has it been a case where you talk about catch up, we talk about all these spaces? Have you had to try and learn to be a father through, unfortunately, other avenues and spaces, which I suppose in a nice, normal community, that wouldn't be the case?
Well, for me personally, I had, I would say I had my dad around to a certain age, and I had males in and around my, say, life and family that I could use as examples of, I don't want to call it regular, but usual things. Have a, you know, be working in a stable job or environment, have a house, etc. So that example, yes. But what I will say, what I didn't have is someone who sat me down and told me how to navigate through, because I don't know if that's just the way society's turned out, or just maybe the way my life's been mapped. But I found I do better knowing how to navigate through, rather than, you know, there's more knowing the intricacies. I work better knowing the intricacies, and I think you can get through knowing the intricacies. I think that's part of what our problem is. We're just following this overall blueprint, which is get a job, get a house, get a car, get married, which are all great, but it's very linear. I'm trying to tell my son that look, you're going to be there's certain things you're going to do. Like I've mentioned, he's showing aspirations to be an engineer, but he's also very good at sport, and there's several things. But I'm trying to get into the mode of him. Look, you want to get to the target of you own stuff, not that you work for somebody. So it's things like that we have to try and instill. But again, it's very easy to say so because we didn't have that instilled. So
yeah, but do you know what? It's true, but the thing is, I think this is where kind of race does kind of come into it, because as immigrants, I'd say, coming in here in the UK, like our parents, it was more of a case of, you know, just get a job, do the best you can, and, you know, just keep your head down and just keep out of trouble. Like, because it was like there were other factors that our parents had that they had to go through. So it wasn't really about aspiring to be more than that. It's like, so they never taught us the intricacies of, you know, growing up as a man. I'm a little different because my dad brought me up. I was brought up by my dad.
Right.
My dad
Okay.
brought us up.
Okay.
So I kind of understood certain things, but even though my dad brought me up, again, he didn't really go into the real details about aspiring to be, you know, the best you can be. He taught me to be hard and tough, and you know, you get knocked down, you get back up. But they had racism. They had a lot of issues back in the 60s and that. Do you know what I mean? They had a lot of issues they have to deal with here in the UK. So it's like just, you know, get a job. Like, I'm the first one in my family to go university, and like, you know, my dad's so proud of me, you know. But then the Asian families who are around me, you know, it was like, you know, that's normal. You know, you need to do better than that.
normal.
You know, just get a master's, get all this and that. Yeah, but
Well,
like,
I suppose that's where we can start though, bro. Because if we normalize that stuff, then yeah, that's what. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, there's two things I think we need to normalize. Is that whole normal education, school, college, university process that should be normalized, because I don't think it's starting to be, but not enough. As well as having the male presence in the home.
But the thing is, KB. But the thing is, like, we're in a position to do that now with our kids more so. Do you know what I mean? Like, racism is here, but it's kind of, with the internet and the globalization, it's not so in your face. So we should be doing that, and we can be doing that, achieving and doing the best you can do. Where before is like, well, my parents were uneducated, you know, blue collar work as well. Like, my dad was a carpenter. So it's a case of just get a job. Now we know better. We can do better. So, and especially like your generation, you're like, you know, a few years younger than me. So you know what I mean. You guys grew up more with the internet. So you know, you can see more opportunities that are out there. There's less excuses for us now as men.
There is less excuses, but I still feel like these sort of conversations and people with the exact mindsets we're describing now is still far and few between, because I feel like I see a lot of younger people go to university, but it's only when I step outside of my circle or my immediate that I realize that, and still in the grand scheme of things, there's still people our age, even our age, that are harboring those old feelings. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's why I feel like we still got stuff to overcome, because when you're harboring those old feelings of we're not allowed to, like, because our problem was we couldn't even apply for stuff. We couldn't even attempt to do stuff. That's not the problem anymore. So I don't know why people are harboring old feelings that we're not able, because these young ones I see, a lot of them are smart, you know, but
trust me,
again,
they're
it's
smart, man.
And it's we need to, again, it's developing a different mindset though, because it's not just what we're blocked from, it's also changing the old thought processes of, because I noticed with, you know, I get it's more of a new thing, but black families or black parents or whatever don't encourage their children. It might seem like a small thing, but it's a massive thing. And any little thing, there's such things as positive reinforcement, and what may seem like a little thing to a parent or to a family, because it's not bringing immediate success or immediate money, or what's he or she going to do with that, we don't look into things like that as well. Like, we need to practice things like that. It will make overall better, productive citizens. They're not all going to be CEOs and company owners and everything, but if we couldn't develop a structure on the next 10, 20, 30 years of just productive citizens, then we're onto something. And then we can go into there and, you know.
But you know what? Yeah, and this is where we have to go into the dynamics between the mother and the father. Do you know what I mean? Because as a father, you know, like, we want our sons to be able to be the best they can be, and to be capable to survive and strive in this society. And a lot of these young kids haven't got a father, and their mothers, of course, they want to make sure they're protected. Do you see what I mean? So it's like they're protected and they're safe. So a lot of these boys are not getting that, getting
funny
that,
enough, funny enough, when you said that, Marathon, because I
getting
didn't want to get to sort of
that, the strength they get from having. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No worries. Well, this is it really, because there is a difference between, again, fatherhood and motherhood, and it may be an old school way of seeing things. So I know with KB, you talk about being more played and probably a bit different, but do you see fathers as, because let's be honest, a father in a house, a strong one, he won't be having some of the excuses that maybe the mother would allow in terms of, a father would be a lot stronger. A father would be a lot more like to the point, to the facts.
And the thing is, you know what? Sorry why it matters. And the thing is, it's not a case of the mum doing anything wrong, but she's not hardwired to push her son out to be, a warrior, because she wants to protect them. She wants to protect them and make sure they're safe. And if the balance is not there, it's hard for these boys, because then when they go out into society and they get knocked down, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. They're only daffy either join a gang and just get to be a tug, or they end up being like a pussy, because they don't know how to deal with that now, because they've been protected. And I'm sorry, it's really hard for. And I think even if, sorry, go on, why it matters.
Let me ask you this then. So do you feel more of a pressure? And this is where I was going to get to when it comes to fatherhood. Do you feel more of a pressure? Because let's be honest, and this is where I feel with things. There are a lot of things which fathers get disrespected, and it's an underappreciated aspect of fatherhood, just how much goes on into being a father in terms of what you just mentioned there, because that's a lot of pressure on people to raise kids to be like that.
And the thing is, as a father, you can't make no mistakes. You can't make a mistake. You know what I mean? It's just, there's so much expected of you, and especially being a black father. You know what I mean? It's like, if you make a mistake, you're a bum. If you do this, there's a burden of performance that's there on you as a father, and it's fine.
I was going to ask you this question. This is brilliant, because I was going to say this, because is there an unfair expectation? Because you're right, and it goes with men. It's like men have a fine line. We know what let's be honest, when it comes to unless you're an exceptional man, pretty much just everyone's either a bum or average. Is there an unfair expectation when it comes to fatherhood? You have to be an exceptional father, otherwise you're seen the same way as, let's say, a deadbeat, for example.
Do you know what? I'm not complaining, and I think and they're definitely issue in the black community in that sense. But I think it's just generally on the fathers. There's that, like I said, men we're disposable, really. Do you know what I mean? We just have to keep getting up, and it's about really teaching our kids the same way. There is a burden of performance on fathers. We don't get enough respect from our women. That's the issue I have. You know what I mean? We don't get that much respect, because there's this, I can do it all by myself, and we could see the state of these kids. They can't do it all by themselves. But that's a society thing,
I was going to say, I agree, but what's interesting about that is because, in the overall aspect, I agree. We probably don't get enough respect. It's what I will say though. I think it's partly because it's just not commonplace enough, and it's not seen enough. It's not the norm. The only reason why I partly say that, or partly why I say that, is because ever since my boy's been little, when I've been out, when I've been somewhere, particularly outside, and I've come across black women of all different type of ages and stuff, I generally get a positive reaction, to be perfectly honest. Probably more so if I wasn't with him when he was a baby all the way up until now. And maybe it's because the way I am with him, they probably see the way we interact. I don't know, but so every time I get that sort of positive reaction, they'll come out of nowhere and start talking, or it's just the general sort of positive energy they put forward. So when I get those reactions, it's like, okay, maybe it's just because they don't see it enough, because when it seems like they do, it's almost like it's a surprise reaction, but it's almost like, oh, okay, I see you. And it's I don't know, but that's been my experience though. That so maybe it's just because it's not commonplace enough. If it starts to become a commonplace thing, you know, maybe there'll be more respect there. I don't know though.
It's interesting because I don't know, and I didn't want to
But
get
then,
into.
like I say, then we go in.
Sorry, Marathon, you got
Yeah,
like,
like we're going to go into the question of why then. Am I?
Unless you're a bit late.
I've got a lag, yeah.
Might be a slight little lag.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I was just talking over you a little bit. Sorry.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I think we have to ask the question why then, KB, and that's a different question. You know, so they don't see it enough. They don't see enough black fathers, and why is that? And then I don't know why it matters. You're going to go into that, but that's a different question.
Yeah, I mean, I was really just going to focus on, I suppose, how you see or how you feel about fatherhood yourselves, as opposed to probably that perspective. I really wanted to hone in on, because what I wanted to do in this live stream is also another way of almost like saying, you know, there is a massive responsibility, but also it's a good responsibility. And this is the thing as well, because men, again, is a burden of performance, as you've stated. And a lot of times when it comes to men, we should probably welcome a challenge. You know what I mean? We should welcome the fact of we're in a position of, let's be honest, you could say power. We're the head of the household, so we're the kind of situation where. But yeah, it's hard, isn't it? But it's true, and it's kind of, like I said, it's underappreciated, isn't it? So I kind of want to stay in that respect. But one of the things I was going to get into, we kind of touched on, and it's society, because we have phrases like toxic masculinity, we have the whole war on masculinity as a whole, and I suppose, do you have a fear? Because I think, if I'm correct, both of you have boys, but is there a fear about the way how society is going to nurture your boys into men? Because obviously you have responsibility, but let's be honest, everyone is prone to the environment that they live in. You can't make no bones about it. So is there any fear at all of that kind of stuff? And have you tried your best to try and make sure that's never gonna, as best as you can do, happen in my household, for example?
Like for me, like my kids, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it really is a job. It's a full-time job, because there's a lot of influences out there, especially for my youngest, you know, just started secondary school. There's a lot of influences out there that are, you know, feminist-based, woke-based, but my sons, they know what it is to be a masculine man. They know what it is. And that's all you can do as a father. You know, you've got to really teach them and make them understand that there's nothing wrong with being a masculine man. There's nothing wrong. Like, the fact is, no one gives a fuck about you when you're a man. You know, like, if when you turn 18, you don't know shit, no one cares. And that's what they need to understand, because the society tells them, oh, it will be okay, you know, we're all the same, we're all fair. So I really make them know that. Like, me and my son, we watched Rocky the other day.
Okay,
we watched Rocky.
Nice.
Do you see what I mean? And, you know, you don't really want to watch it, but I made him watch it, because it's really a case of no one's gonna give a fuck about you. I've not got girls. I don't know how it is with girls, but as a boy, you can't really be emotional like that. You know, you really got to be a man. But they have the influences from school, the internet, so you can only do your best, and hopefully they remember. Like, my biggest son is 19. He's doing okay. You have to just hope for the best after that. But like, I think you have to start early. You got to start when they're really young. When they're like after 10, 11, I think it's kind of too late, to be honest. You really got to start early to teach them. Because it's our job to teach our kids how to navigate the world, how to interact in relationships. I think you see it with a lot of other communities, other cultures, like the Muslims. They'll go to school, but then they'll go to their after school thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's about working in conjunction with the society. We can do it, but we have to remember that, this is how it is at school, but at home, this is the way it goes. And you can't be scared to do that. You know what I mean? And it's going to be hard, because if there's not a man there, I feel sorry for a lot of these young kids. because women are easier influenced, and that's just the way it is. So
Well,
even
one
if you've
thing
got a kind of a dad who's a deadbeat dad, I think it's important to have a dad around, no matter, or in the child's life, whether he's a deadbeat or what. It's really important.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously it goes without saying. I know you didn't say this, but a productive, constructive man in the life. Because obviously, someone who's destructive, that's clearly not what we want. So obviously, it goes
Of
without
course.
yeah. But because one of the things which I wanted to sort of ask you both as well, especially you, Marathon Man, there, because obviously you got a kid who's 19, etc., etc. Did you ever have any sort of support systems? Because when mothers have their classes and there's a lot more, it seems, more support systems to prepare mother, obviously childbirth and motherhood. Do you have any, or were there any support systems that you was able to draw upon as a man in that respect to go into fatherhood?
No. But like I say, I've got my dad, but no.
Yep.
No.
Because even like me saying support systems, I don't know whether if it's just me, but whenever I say these type of things, it always seems more, how do I put it, female based. You know what I mean? A support system, or this, or that. And I don't know whether this is because we're men, because you mentioned about we have to be strong and tough, and I don't know whether this is a bad trait or a good trait. Is that an emotional? Do we emotionally stump the kids?
There's nothing really there for guys. There's nothing really there. I worked in social care for a little while. There's not really much there for guys, and it is what it is. I'm like I said, I'm not moaning about it, but no, I don't know. I don't know much there for black fathers or fathers in general. I don't know. Don't know what KB thinks.
Yeah, KB, what about you? Did you have any, or I don't know if you draw it upon your family, or did you have a support system, a network? Was that even something you thought about having?
No, that wasn't really something that was around, to be honest. And if I got any sort of parental advice, or if I had any questions, it was generally to the females around. This is what I was mentioning about the men in and around me, because when it came to even being like a father, which all of them were, that they didn't have any sort of navigation on what to do with your child. Do you know what I mean? So everything I sort of did, I sort of picked up bits here and there and kind of went with my own intuition. I mean, my sister's a girl, but it kind of helps that I kind of helped my mum raise her a little bit, especially when she was younger. So there was, especially when my son was young, there's initial say 5 years. There wasn't too much that shocked me too much. And in my experience, I tend to find that's the hardest 5 years anyway, in terms of any part of it being hard in terms of a child. I'm not saying the rest of it's easy, but I found that was my biggest sort of hurdles. Because as soon as my son could communicate, I was like, hallelujah. Like, I know what you want now. Like, do you know what I mean? I can fix this now. And I'm not saying it's been easy, but it's been easier. And so yeah, but again, men are not. I'm not saying women are given a manual, but men are not even given any sort of tidbits, text or anything. We just sort of go about it. Like you guys mentioned, if we do something wrong, it is brought up. But I guess as well, at the same time, when you do see examples of when fathers do well and raise their children well, whether or not they get the praise or not, they generally raise very well-to-do sort of children more often than not.
Yeah.
So I'll say that's definitely a good thing. Whether they get the praise or not enough, it's okay. I mean, I suppose those that got eyes to see will see, okay, yeah, he did a good job, I suppose that's what we're going to get. The most, we're going to get a pat on the back, I guess.
Well,
that's cool. We'll have to hold that in
you're not even going to get that, man. You're not going to get a pat on the back. You're not even going to get that. You ain't going to get that. From who? Who's going to give you that? No one, man.
Wow. And the thing is, a lot of guys, let's be honest, I don't know whether it's just me, but a lot of guys are like, you know what I mean? We don't need the kind of praise. And maybe that's the reason why we don't get the fawning. Again, there's no protected group in terms of a single father or father. It's not like you always a father, you can't say this. It's not like that when it comes to in that respect. So maybe it's because we just don't care like that in the nicest possible way.
Well, that's what I was going to say as well, bro, because I think with some, I do, and this might be a bit wrong to say, and I might be incorrect, but some fathers, the way they kind of, and I get it. There are some dads that I find it quite difficult, or have ended up in a difficult certain circumstance, or single parents and are struggling, and they feel like they don't get enough praise for what they do. But I agree with you, bro. Me as a man, I'm not really bothered if you tell me if I'm a good dad or not. I know I am. Like, the only person I'm bothered about is my baby. If as long as my child thinks so, then I'm happy. Like, even including mum,
and you
I
know
don't
what?
care.
And you know what? KB, that's the most important thing that fathers need to understand. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? As long as you know, because I think I had that issue as well in the past. It's like it's about your kids. It doesn't matter whether, you know, this woman tells you you're a good father or you're shit. It doesn't matter, and we need to really remember that. As long as you know, not look for that. Maybe that's why we don't look for praise. But I think a lot of the times we get downhearted because all you hear about men, especially black men, is, and unfortunately it's from sisters a lot of the time, black men are shit. Black men don't do nothing. There. And it's not true. But you hear that a lot, and it does affect you. And that's why I say you feel like you can't make no mistakes. You don't want to let your child down one time, because you know that that's a perception of black
No,
fathers, and
that's
unfortunately
true.
coming from black women.
No, that's true.
You
But
know,
you see,
it's
the problem is, you see what part of the problem is, bro. Though is it's still because we're getting mixed in with the black males or men that are just going about having kids. See, so but this is partly the men's fault too.
yeah,
And
boom.
let me give
But
you an
then
example. Let me one sec. Let me
no,
give
but
you one
the
quick
thing is,
example. Let me give you a quick example. So even like obviously my son being black, yeah. Again, I think he was talking amongst his peers, and he's turning 11, so they're getting to that age, not far behind your youngest, yeah. And it seemed like they was having this conversation of, you know,
yeah.
black children not having their dads around, and you know, we was having this kind of conversation, and my son was getting a bit sad, and I was like, you don't need to get sad. You've got your dad around. You don't need to get sad. And he kind of put his head up, like, oh yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it was little, like that said a lot to me, because I thought, rah. So, do you know what I mean? I still have to reinforce this, because there is still a main stigma that even a boy that had his dad, there was still enough people around him that didn't, that he felt like he was one of them.
But the thing
You know
is,
what I mean?
see, I hear you, KB, but you see, the problem is, I think they call lag. The problem is, it's only like 15 to 18% of black men who are these bums who abandon their kids. It's such a small minority. Remember, one bum can have 50 baby mothers. You know. Do you see what I mean? So I don't like the fact that it's all these, like the majority of black men have this projection from certain people saying, "Oh, we ain't shit." It's a small percentage of ain't shit black men, 15 to 20%, who are having all the kids. But majority of black men look after their kids.
Well, then what I will say is, then we've got another job to do then, because if it's that 15 to 80% and it's affecting our perception that much, and I guess we can all agree that the perception of us as black fathers is important, right? So if that being the case, then we have to make a point of making this another thing that we have to add into our to-do now list, which is push people like ourselves and people that actually want to be in their children's lives and are productive and are raising productive children to the forefront as much as possible. That's what we need to do, and we can't rely on other people to do it. We need to do it ourselves.
But you know, but the problem is,
do it as well.
Yeah. But the problem is, it's like it's like I said, this is controversial. This thing about black men. That's where the view's coming from. So we're having to kind of fight among ourselves. That's the issue. It's like, you know, they say, "Oh, black men ain't shit," but it's coming from sisters, and that's the problem we have. It's not black people. Do you know what I mean? I think, we got an internal issue here.
No, I agree, bro. But and I know what the point is you're trying to say is that you want it to stop being said from the other part of our from the black women.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can
But
we do about that?
But this is what I'm saying. This is why I'm saying we need to push, because if we know these men are about, we know these fathers are about, the statistics are in the father's favor, then what we
Yeah.
need to do is because some black dads, some positive black dads are happy, and I don't blame them, but they're happy being in a little shell, which is fine.
Yeah.
Their life is going good, but we can't afford for that. So we either or act as, we got two choices basically, right? We either act as all as individuals, those of us that are raising our families properly carry on, and the rest of us just deal with the consequences. Or all possible black dads realize that whether you like it or not, we all have a collective responsibility to show that we are the majority. We only got two choices.
On
So-
that,
Because if
KB.
we don't, you know.
So I want to sorry to cut in, because there's something which my thumbnail kind of gives the backdrop to this a little bit, and I don't know if you've been on Twitter at all. I think they got socials. It's called Dope Black Dads. It was a page. It was a situation set up by a guy named Marvin Harrison, and he wanted basically to this conversation to say, look, we wanted a better representation, outlook, a better PR, basically good PR about there are very, very, very. They're not missing black father narrative. There are good fathers out there. We know there are bad fathers out there. We're not going to say there isn't. That's just be lies. But the narrative needs to change. And I suppose the good men, the good fathers, they need to do it. And there's a Twitter page. I do recommend you all look at it. It's called Dope Black Dads. And what they're doing is that they're trying to change the conversation. So I think that's something that, if you probably would agree with me, that we need more of. And again, more conversation around the good stuff, the positive things. Because you're right, KB, to your conversation about your son's not in that situation, but because of and this is how we are as people, he feels the weight just because it's, his peer group and a lot of men he feels. So maybe it's just the PR needs to be changed that we can do. So that's something I definitely will recommend you both check out. It just praises examples of good fatherhood. So it's something really good.
So basically, it's about what you're basically saying is we have to fight for our image, reputation, basically.
No, never fight. I think every group will always push good PR. I mean, if you look at white men, for example, now we talk about masculinity on the threat. White men are fighting back hard. They're saying, look, we are not these, hateful men. You know what I'm saying? So I think we all have responsibility. At the end of the day, we have a right. We can change things at the social media. So I think it's just a case of we do have responsibility. As much as not everyone's going to respect you just off the get go, are they, Marathon Man? You know what I mean? So you have to earn that respect.
Yeah.
Just want to big up the chat because I've not said anything. So before I continue, thank you for everyone for tuning in. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I've said hello to a couple people. Let me say hello on here. Fiona, welcome. Tash, thanks for joining. Kushti, blessing, African Empress, Anti-Socialite, Socialite Podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you. There all seem to be women in the chat as well, which big ups. So I'm not even going to complain. All women, all female audience, so it seems, but please make sure you like the stream, share, subscribe if you are new. So women, I do appreciate you being here, so don't get it wrong. It's just this stream, we're just talking about fatherhood. But yeah, absolutely. But no, it's definitely good that we as black men promote ourselves. I think we need to do that. So that's the only way narrative will change. Do you agree, Marathon Man, or do you kind of disagree? Or do you think there should be an instant type of?
Yeah, no. I understand what you're saying now. I understand. It's not really about fighting. It's just really getting the narrative out there with the podcast and communicating among black men. I think that's what you mean.
100%. Because again,
I understand. No, I can't fight that. That's true.
Because obviously, you guys understand the red pill space, and that's the reason why the red pill for men existed, so we can get our voice out there. Whether you agree with it or not, it's still relevant. Our voice needs to be out there. And well, this is the thing I was going to say, and this is because I do think sometimes our male traits, which I think a lot of it is just DNA, it hurts us here, because this idea of talking and coming together and come by I know it's opening up now with mental health, but it always seems like a lot of men are like, that's not a manly thing to do. And I don't know whether that is the reason why it hurts us more, because the idea of men coming together to talk about our issues is really a new thing. It's not something that's ingrained in us. You see what I mean? It's like, we don't want to talk about this. We don't talk about our issues. I mean, do we need to fight that part of it first before everything else can come down? Is that still a big stigma, do you think?
But you see, the problem is, it's true, we do need to talk among ourselves as men. But the problem is society don't give a damn. So it's a fine balance to get to the right balance is really difficult, because we need to talk about the issues that we have. But in society in general, they don't care. We're men. We're
True,
meant
but
to
then
be, like even in
and
relationships, you can't really be. It's the thing is, up to what extent, and that's the issue. Another man, it's really difficult to know that extent, because we should be able to be open to talk about certain things, but certain things we should have been taught when we were younger. Do you know what I mean? And that's the issue now. Other man, they're like, you're a big man, you don't know this.
well,
You know what I mean? No, that's like the barbershop talks. Do you see what I mean? It is hard as a grown adult to talk about certain things. That's why these spaces are really important.
yeah,
And which is why I think it's really important for men and for men to talk. Like, big up the women in the chat. Or big up the women, yeah. But it's important for men to talk about our vulnerabilities to other men. It's really important.
no, and this is what I was going to say to you, because I think when we talk about society, let's be honest, we are part of that society. We are 50% of that society. So what kind of kills me the most is we should, as you said, be able to talk and get things done for our issues as best as we can do, because at the end of the day, we have to be, and I think this is the case, unapologetically outspoken about certain things for definite when it comes to our issues. Because at the end of the day, every group, whether it's gender, political group, whether it be intersectional group, whatever cultural group, they kind of care about themselves, don't they? So we should have that same viewpoint where, okay, society don't care about us. If we go with this, we go with that, but we care about ourselves, so we should push it. So sometimes I think that we should not focus on no one cares. We should focus on we're going to make them care. You see what I mean? Does that make sense? We should
But
make people.
But you know what? And
Sorry,
why
Marathon
it
Man,
matters is,
I think you're cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know if KB, can you hear it? If it's just me.
Yeah, I can. It's going in and out. Try again, bro.
I'm going to come back in.
Yeah, we can hear. Can hear.
Yeah,
Okay,
but KB, let me ask you this question then. So, because
Yes,
obviously Marathon Man, is a bit more of a pessimist, and I'm on the opinion that, you know what, while we have air in our bodies, breath in our lungs, etc., we can do something about it. So, should we really be? And again, I don't know whether this is more not a masculine thing, because men are like, no, I ain't talking about this with you. You know what I mean? Should we? Is spaces like this, should there be more of a focus on this type of stuff? I know it's sort of changing now with podcasts, but it's always in a interesting light sometimes when I see certain podcasts, which I'm like, I know where this is going to go.
Yeah.
But just talking about issues, just generally, just talking about it, is that something that we should be pushing and making sure that people are aware of these issues and that it does need to change if there are issues we have?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. It's in the same vein that a lot of us need therapy, and it is going to be a sort of a therapeutic experience of getting these statements and feelings out there. Everybody's gone through a lot of stuff, and there's been a lot of push and pull, and the family and parental structure has been a big, it's been a big deal for us. It's probably the thing that's taken the most dent. So there is a lot of repairing to do. But we are taking steps. I mean, and again, it may not feel like it overall, but I think there are steps being made. Again, I feel like you put up something on the community page the other day. I'm sure it was you anyway, in terms of there be more fathers involved, a certain percentage involved in children's lives.
I think I definitely put a stat about there's less single parent households now, which I suppose
Okay,
you could argue there's more fathers now in a unit together. So that's definitely a case.
So yeah, we definitely need these conversations more, and then more calls to action. I mean, in terms of, for example, like you asked, like, was there, is there any sort of male focused advice help groups? And maybe not in the same sort of structure as in, say, maybe women may have it, but certainly having these sort of things, definitely, because again, there's this whole sort of stigma of men don't or shouldn't, or however it's put, open up, and we're quite stoic. And yes, we can be that like that in nature, but one thing we can say is when men all become fathers, we essentially, at least to some extent, all go through the same experience, and then it differs off depending on your circumstance, the child, who you are, etc. But being a father all round is initially is the same experience. So where you go off from there is then it varies. So sorry, go on, bro.
No. I wasn't cutting in at all, man. But no, you're right. You're right. It does vary, and again, a lot of things are changing. It's just probably we're in a generation where we're on the tail end of that change. If you see what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not tail end, but we're at the head end. So we've not seen the change early on. It's more now once we're a bit adult and grown and we're more institutionalized. The one thing I wanted to put up there, because African Empress put something in the chat, and I'm torn with this. Not torn. I got my viewpoints on this, and again, this may be me being sounded a bit old school. So it reads, I also feel men /boys should find time to release emotions, cry. Fed up of hearing men shouldn't cry. Why not? Now, I'll be honest with you. I ain't cried since like 90. There's only probably a couple of situations where I would ever show emotions in that sort of sense. We all have emotions, anger is an emotion, stoicism is an emotion, but crying, bro, sis, I don't
But you know what?
No.
but you know what? Why it matters?
Go ahead.
With that, my question would be, how long are we allowed to cry for?
This is why I'm like this.
Let me know.
I don't even risk it.
Exactly, because if I'm upset, I might be upset for am I allowed to be upset for a month before you get pissed off with me? So
I think how it manifests itself. So like crying for a month. I mean, bro, I'll be like this. I'm gonna use this word now. You have to man up. You see what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, but the thing is, white man, you in reality, yeah, we're men, but we do have emotions, and
I agree.
And maybe women don't know that. Yeah, we do have emotions, but like we just can't afford to be upset for too long. It's just the way it is. And what I was going to say before I cut out, the cultural thing, being like from a Jamaican background as well, you understand there's that proudness there. And it's stupid, but we have that kind of proudness, can't show no emotion thing in our culture. So it went too far back in the day. A little bit of emotion is okay, but you got to be really careful with that, because sometimes you want to be upset, but
you raised something really good. Again, that was one of the questions about cultural backgrounds, because again, a lot of West Indian households growing up, I mean, my mum used to tell me all the things she went through in terms of beatings from the father, because you're right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that culturally happen. A lot of I'm assuming KB African backgrounds. I hear so many things about beatings and whatnot. So you probably mentioned the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, I heard some horrendous stories. So
and it was too far. It was too far.
This is what I was going to say. Are there a lot of cultural traits you thought, like beating of your kids? I mean, I don't know. I feel free not to answer the question, but do you think that is something that should be brought down? Because a lot of times beatings now is almost, I wouldn't say over, but a lot of new school parents are just like, I'm never going to beat my kids because, my parents, they probably use their emotions to actually the father because they couldn't control their emotions and maybe lashed out on the kids. I don't know if you felt the same way or if you've thought, I'm not going to do that.
I love answering this question because I'm definitely one of the new ones that say I don't hit my child. But you see what, yeah? It's not just that simple, because he's still been taught right from wrong and discipline. See, I think the problem is with some of the newer parents that don't beat their children, because I don't agree with that either. They also very much spoil their children, not just materially, but emotionally as well. And they have more of that, they have more of a friendly relationship rather than a parent-child one. So that's where, they also encompass, I wouldn't beat my child. Because
but the thing is,
my child knows when he's done wrong, and he will, and if you need to have to push boundaries, and that's what children will do, push boundaries, is a look, an expression, tone of voice. Like, again, there's little things we can encompass to try and become better parents. And I'm not trying to pretend I'm like the best parent ever, because I'm not. But it's and this comes up in our episode, actually, funny enough as well, that we're bringing up this weekend, that a lot of these beating techniques, a lot of them come from when we were held captive. You know, a lot of the things with children is psychological. Most of the time, children just want attention. Now, I'm not trying to go and pretend that every child is the most angelic child, but I don't believe any child is born bad either. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
traits are learned, are mirrored, are copied, are are put upon. But you know, it came from somewhere. But it shouldn't just straight to be to just beat the child, because not only the physical abuse as well, more often, but the beatings I got, right, and I'm glad me and my mum, as I'm older, we can sort of talk more openly, because there was a stage where we couldn't have that conversation without her getting defensive. I think out of feeling like now she's older and wiser now, she hadn't done so. Now we can have these conversations.
Yeah.
Now with
You know,
with one or two of the one or two of the things I might have got beat for, and there was probably really high, really big things, or I'm not saying any of them that were particularly unfair per se. I guess they felt they did what was right. None of the physical pain was what traumatized me. It was the mental. It was the
The verbal abuse.
situation.
Yeah.
The verbal, exactly.
Yeah.
and you know what? It's like, and the thing is, it's kind of controversial, really, but I agree about in terms of beating kids. I've never really had to beat my kids. You know what I mean? And I think, to be honest, it's the mums who are the ones who really beat the kids and give you the bad beatings. It was really like, when I think, even with my kids now, I've only had to, they beat my kids maybe twice in over 18 years. And that's when
it was
their
necessary.
mum couldn't deal with it. When it was
that
necessary.
bad.
But normally, I don't think dads really do beat kids like that. And even back in the day, mums can be really, really harsh with their kids.
And the things that kind of kills me, sorry to put in Marathon, and this is where I was going to get to, because I think maybe this is again a black thing, but when we hear beatings, we hear like it has to be horrendous, like almost a slaughter. But actually,
beating up the child. Let's be honest, you're beating up the child.
And this is the thing. I'm like, and this is probably our mentality where we go too far with things. It's like
yeah, we do.
Hitting a child doesn't mean you have to abuse the child. You see what I mean? Like talking, like criticizing someone doesn't mean you have to strip them apart, limb from limb.
But like I said,
don't we?
Nowadays, it's called abuse, and they're right, really, because some of the beating it's ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I thought to myself, you can discipline your child, but not again abuse a child, like in anything.
Yeah,
talk to somebody, you can slightly tap them on their hand. Let's be honest, a little child, if you just tap them on their hand, they're gonna start crying anyway. If you have a stern voice and you raise your voice, it's not like you've abused them, you've just tapped them. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
From the beatings, I'm like, no, that goes beyond the pale. So,
and I think a lot of people are still suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder from the beatings. So when they get older, they kind of become abusers. You know what I mean? And
I hear you.
That's the issue in our community.
So when it comes to the beatings, we kind of clear a little bit on there's a better way to do things now. But and this kills me the most. Do you not see the fact that these young kids are more disrespectful? These young kids are a little bit more feisty. Let's be honest. I don't know if that's because we become too lax as fathers, as community. How do you see that a little bit? I mean, I don't know how it is with your kids, but are they a bit too like?
I think
fathers have to be, I think, feared first and respected.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like my kids, they fear me, and sometimes I know they didn't like me. But it's not about being like, they feared me, so they know that I've never really had to beat them. Some of the things like they carry on with their mum, I'd be like, nah. But they feared me because they know that I didn't play. So I think these kids nowadays, the issue is there's no father at all if I can do it all by myself. Do you know what I mean? And you can't. So these kids are going to have to get their masculinity from somewhere, and it's going to be being disrespectful in the street. Again, it does go down to fathers not being there. And I'm not saying most fathers do want to be involved in their kids' life, but they're not allowed to. And that's what you end up with, unruly kids, because it's really hard for a single mum to, well, to bring up a well-rounded child. It just is what it is, and
Well, this is why you need two parents, because you got the masculine and feminine. You need both. There's going to be lacking if there's just a male figure, no female. So it needs both in unison. Yeah.
Like I said, I lack that kind of
nurturing type of
that nurturing type for a little while, because I didn't grow up with mum, so I was just raw sometimes. You know what I mean? And I understand that there's something missing there that I've had to build back. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not saying, I grew with my dad, it's perfect. No, it ain't, because sometimes I was too sharp on certain things. So you do need the balance. I understand that.
No, I hear you. And let's be clear. It don't matter if you grow up in a 2-parent or 1-parent. There's never a perfect scenario, is there? Because we're all human. So we do the best that we can do. And I suppose once kids get older, and once you as a parent, father, you'll understand is that you can only do the best based on A, how you raise, B, how you see things, and C, how you can impact things. So at the end of the day, it's a case of no man or woman, no father or mother is perfect in their ways. So
it just probabilities. The chances are you'll be more rounded with a balanced family. That's just in the probability states. The stats in terms of serial killers and people in prison. It gives you a better opportunity and probability if you're from a stable 2-parent family.
No, I hear you.
You have heard the stats, haven't you? Why it matters?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so
cool.
many stats and case studies about the impact of not having, especially the father in the home, when it comes to education, when it comes to social economic skills, when it comes to jail, just a lot of other things. So no, I can't downplay the importance of that at all. So this is why the stream is highlighting the importance of it, and just talk about some of the things that you brothers go through. Because one of the things I was going to say is this: I didn't ask this at the start. Is pre-children, after children, did you notice a change in you as a man in terms of mentality, maybe how you thought, maybe your responsibilities? Did you notice a sharp change? I always hear this from people I talk to, like kids and friends and whatnot. The moment they pick up the child, it's different. Obviously, being a man, the kid don't grow inside of you, so you can't grow with the kid like that. But the moment you pick up your child, after the child's born, it's like, for some men, it's like a switch. They see things differently. I don't know if it was same like you, or did you grow into it? But I'm assuming this is the case. Did you notice a significant change pre and post in everything in terms of how you moved as a man?
I can answer first.
Yeah, please.
I'll definitely say, and I know the switch you're talking about, especially when you first pick up your child and your child is born. And well, me personally, the first thing I think I sort of started to gauge was that I'm responsible for another person, and I'm not going to speak for anyone else. I knew I needed to do that, but I did need to grow into it. It's like you said. I think when I realized that, I started to notice that I was either okay, you need to change, or I'm changing for the better in terms of I'm becoming a father now. Is when he's starting to get older, and he starts to, obviously we can have a boy, but children will do so anyway. But the fact that you start to notice that they mimic what you do,
right?
Now it can be in little subtle ways, and they could have taken your traits and stuff, and it's like, wow, okay, if they're gonna mimic what you're gonna do, and they've taken little bits of you, that means it's they can see they're always watching you. It dawns on you that they're always watching you. So almost anything that you do, if they do it, it is reflective. They're a reflection of you. It is your fault. Every step that you take, they're going to concede it as, okay, this is how you do things. I think for male or female. So by the time you start to become 2, 3, 4 and upwards, then it was okay, definitely. Again, not to say I don't think I was a bad dad when he was a baby, when he's an immediate baby. And I feel like I'm lucky, and also my partner also feels like I'm lucky, because she's the youngest in her family, so she never had a younger sibling or a younger person for a long time to have to help her parents nurture. Her older siblings helped bring her up, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I had my little sister, so there was little tiny things of you know, there's certain bits that men, if they haven't experienced it before, or experienced a baby to sort of toddler age before, it can be, for some men, it can be quite overwhelming, and they don't know how to deal with it. And you know, it is things like, even it's things like erratic sleep patterns. That was something that took me a while to get used to. Got this like, child, seriously, why? Like, and it's you know, if you're not sort of mentally prepared, it can go wayward. And this is where I think I've seen, I mean, I'm not excusing anybody, to be, if I'm going to be honest, I'm not. But you know, you get with a lot of I think abandoned children, for children abandoned by their fathers in the Black community. I've seen over the years a lot of examples. It's not been before the child's been born or just as they've been born. It's when the child's been 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've been in the child's life for a little bit, and then it's like when it starts to get hard, they just think run, which I don't agree with. But
Do you know
I
what?
see
Yeah,
that quite a lot.
you say something really key there, KB, because I think, and this may be how it is, but do you know, when a child's young, let's be honest, it's not a lot a man can do, because the mother's nursing, feeding. A lot of it is that, you know, that stage, isn't it? But when the child gets a bit more older, there's more onus on the man now to step in and do something that probably the man is like, oh, there's a job here. You know what I mean? There's a job on my hands that I have to, you know, protect, provide, steer the ship. I've got a woman to look after.
I think, yeah, it's like it's a change between both parents, which is why the first few years after they're born is the most volatile, where you're most likely to break up. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I didn't really, when I had my kids, it wasn't something straight away. It's like, wow, you know, it's something you kind of grow into it. It's kind of, you think, all right, then I got this little baby now. It's like, what? And then you get certain situations that happen, and you're like, you know, then you got to be responsible, and they'll walk a certain way. You're thinking, I walk like that. I'm thinking, nah. And then they'll start doing little things that you do. Start using your left hand like me. I'm thinking, damn. Then you kind of realize that that's really a part of you. And I'm thinking, I never taught him that, but he's doing it. That's when you kind of realize, damn, this is a part of you, you know? So, which is why for a man to really, it's not easy for a man to walk away from his kids. And I think people need to understand that. So when you hear about certain situations, it's not easy, especially with boys, because they are part of you, and the things they do, you can see yourself in it. How they look certain, they have a certain look, and you're thinking, I used to look like that. So
yeah, no, you're right.
And the thing is that then I'll tell him, don't look like that, don't do that. But I do it, you know what I mean? I'll be like, don't do that, you know, because you look like you're vexed, you know what I mean? But yeah, so it's like, yeah, you grow into it. You grow into it. I never had a bombshell. Wow, I got a baby. It's like you're just holding this little thing. You're thinking, you know, you take him. I ain't getting up. But after a while, you kind of, like when they start to talk, it's like it's kind of more fun, because
you can
really start to teach them. Yeah.
So let me ask you this then, both, because you're right. It starts to get more fun, but again, for me, it gets more serious. I'm like, I have a child who's been leave the age of like 7. You know what I mean? That's fine, because, and this is where there's a stat that says, or case studies that always say, you know, when men have children and partners and wives and have a family, they, because of responsibility, they're more ambitious because they have to earn more, because they have to provide for more. So my question again is in terms of the change. Obviously, it's a gradual change you both mentioned, but did you all see more of a gradual, you know, I have to be a little bit more sharp with my time. I have to be more sharp with my commitments. I have to be more ambitious with my commitments. I have to make sure that this is there in place. Otherwise, if not, things are going to go awry. And it's not just me that's going to lack food. It's going to be my kids. Is that something also?
Yeah. Do you know what? Like with me, my life never really changed, but everything I did, my son came with me. You know what I mean? So everything I would do, he'll be there. I'll still be working, I'll still be doing what I'm doing, but he's there with me. I didn't really make it affect my life like that. But like wherever I went, I'll just take him with me. You know what I mean? That's so it's hard work, but yeah, man. I like when my sons were little, I took them everywhere with me. They just went everywhere with me, or party and everything.
Big,
No, not
big
really.
man
No, I didn't take them
All right.
parties. Nah, but I took them everywhere else. You know what I mean? Okay.
No, but that's good though. And again, this is something which we need to see definitely more often. Again, change the narrative is visibility. If you see fathers visibly with their kids, their daughters, their
Yeah.
sons, it visibly in the minds of people changes the narrative, isn't it? Not just from
Yeah.
well, it's someone somewhere here we can't see in our daily lives, and that's sometimes the key. Because we'll talk about role models, and one of the things which I've always heard, and I don't know whether your boys have said this to you yet, is boys will always see their fathers as their first hero. And that's a very profound thing if you're someone's hero, isn't it? Because you look up to that hero, you want to emulate your hero. I know you talk about, oh, the Marathon Man is like, don't copy me, don't copy me. But sometimes it could be a sign of the fact that they see him as heroes. And I'm assuming mothers, daughters with their mothers, they see him as their, heroines. You see what I mean? So, I mean, do you ever feel like that? I don't know if your kid has ever said that you're my hero or anything like that, what's made you someone, choke up a little bit. Have you had those moments at all?
You know what? Yeah, go on, KB.
No, I have. He has said that to me. And it's nice, it's nice to know that. Okay, first of all, he's seeing, acknowledging, and appreciating what you're trying to do, what you're aiming to do. Also, as well, is especially the concept of them seeing you as a hero. It's again, you must be doing at least something right, because the concept of children and superheroes is that they want to be them, or that they're sort of larger than life. They can almost do anything, which is great. And for my son said something very similar to that a year or so ago, I believe, and it was nice to hear, because I try to be so as much as possible. I mean, because I try to show him, look, I need to be the first one up. It's little things like this. I need to be the first one up in the house. Do you know what I mean? When I know, I'm trying to teach him this, that I know as much in this house as your mother does, plus a bit more. Nothing to do with your mother's any less than me. Nothing to do with anything like that at all. But I'm trying to teach him that you need to be the leader. You need to know everything everybody else does, plus 10, 20%. You have to. I'm trying to, it's things like structuring, and he gets surprised how much things I do with my time and in a week and everything else. And it's like, you're out again, or you're doing this again, or you're doing this again. It's like, yeah, I've only got this amount of time to do A, B, C, and D. By the time I've come back, you need to have done this. You've got 2 hours or whatever. So it's, again, in terms of structure, time, using our 24 hours, and again, leading sort of everything. We're the main two that do everything in the house. I'm even trying to show, because I do things like, I do a lot of cooking and things like that. Things like that, show him how to be a man. Like, not even, I don't even try to say to him, you're not going to be relying, I don't want him to be relying on a woman per se. I don't want him to be relying on anybody. So I'm trying to show him to be self-sufficient as a person generally anyway. And also I'm trying to do that by leading by example. Also, part of and my partner hates me saying this, but I hope she, eventually she'll understand what I mean by it, is that what matters you asked about in terms of, your attitude, your mindset, and everything changing and developing into a father. Part of what's got me through over the last few years, and it's just been my own sort of strategy, is, and it's got nothing to do with my son's mum, but sometimes the way I try to navigate myself with him, I try to tell myself or think in the mentality that I'm a single parent. So I know everything she does in this house, plus more. If shit hits the fan and she leaves tomorrow, me and him are fine. And he will see, if shit hits the fan, everything's going to be fine.
Do you know what, KB? The thing is, the reason you do that is because, as a man, if you fuck up, no one cares. So you got to teach your child like that. There's nothing out there. That's why on the street you see the alcoholics and bums on the street. If you focus on the man, no one cares. That's why you really got to teach a child like that. It's different for boys. You know, it's like you can't expect someone to pick up a woman to look after him or care for him. If you're a bum, no woman's gonna want you. No one's gonna care. So that's why you have to teach your son to be able to manage in the world, basically, which means looking after yourself, right?
Right, sorry, just back, guys. But no, that last point you made, Marathon Man, this is very interesting about how maybe this is how we're wired as well in terms of, and I go back to the Titanic example where women and children off the boat first.
Yeah.
Men are the ones who have to stay. In war, you look at this
We're
situation.
disposable.
And the thing is,
Men are disposable.
But it's unfortunate truth of our position, and it's a mass responsibility, and it can also be again, and it could be good things as well as bad
blessing
things.
And a curse.
Yeah, blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
That's the best way.
It's what it is. It is what it is.
But yeah, and I suppose, do you feel that burden all the time, or is that a burden you welcome? Because one thing I wanted to sort of ask both of you is, how to put this? Would you dissuade men from? 'Cause I know there's a argument about not being a father nowadays. It's too risky for all types of reasons. But would you say being a father is something that you would? Let's be honest. If someone asks about fatherhood, would you say it's something that you should definitely get into? But it's something that you should definitely is a blessing.
Do you know what? Yeah, do you know what? It's like it's really hard to be a fulfilled man if you're not a father. That's what I think.
Okay.
But it's a delicate balance, because you need to be careful who you have your kids with. But yeah, I think without being a father, I think there's a missing part to your life. It's an amazing thing to be a father. So yeah, I would make sure you're careful and you know who you pick. But yeah, I was 100%. It's absolutely amazing being a father. Like I said, it really changes you as a man. Like it's just having that responsibility for somebody. It's actually, and you know, that love for your kids grows. You know, it does grow, and it just makes you look at things so differently when you do have like I've got boys. I mean, when you have boys, trust me, yeah, I would say it's an amazing thing for a man to be a father.
No, I like
but be
that.
careful who you're with.
Oh, 100%. 100%. On that note, I just want to say, ladies in the chat, please chill. I don't know what it is, but you ladies are getting get feisty in the chat. It's like, you know, we're cool over here. The guys, we're having a nice chopping up right nicely. Obviously, you can do, as long as it's all in nice spirits. I suppose you can have your little arguments as you please. But it's just, I'm listening to the chat and it's cracking me up because like there's no men in the chat. But no, for KB, question to you then: do you, I suppose, similar to Marathon Man, do you feel a sense of fulfillment that you probably couldn't get if you didn't have kids?
I don't know if I didn't have kids. Well, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, certainly, because it's an exclusive feeling. So yeah, do you know what? Yes, certainly, and I'm really interested to see how he turns out in the next 10, 20 and beyond years. What type of person I've helped develop. But I am very proud, yeah, because I'm highly confident that I've raised in the minimum decent member of society. I'm hoping a highly productive person in society, but he would at least be decent, which is great. I'm happy with that. Definitely in terms of how, and again, he's not grown up yet, so I shouldn't speak out that, but at least until this point and what seems to be his immediate future, that he hasn't gone down a certain path or had certain influences. I've tried to, he knows of, look, he's aware of the world, but it's one of those where, because you see with the negative influences in terms of, just this little side note, in terms of our community, as well as we having not great role models and what's pushed down our throats is usually negative. There's negative stuff everywhere. I don't think so much that negative stuff exists is what our problem is that we in our community, and including us as parents, push to our children that certain things are cool and you should do things a certain way, which isn't productive.
Mm.
So as long as he's aware of these things, but I haven't been promoting them to him. Do you know what I mean? Even like it's funny because I'm probably more of someone you'd call. I'm probably more hood than he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even in terms of like music and stuff, like certain rap things I listen to and everything, even from back in the day. Now, from now up until back in the day, whenever I'm a big rap fan, still, but still will be, always will be. And I don't hide certain music from him. For example, I don't hide it, but I don't make a point of playing it around him, if that makes sense. Which, even with just on that, seems to have made a bit of difference. Is if like for him to listen to something on my on my iPhone, I will have to play. I have to make a point of playing it to him. If he just walks in, oh, I recognize that. But it's not one of them where it's being pushed or a certain thing's being pushed through him. Like, so yeah, I like to think so. The things he's into are not necessarily, you know, what people would call black and everything else. Even that whole stigma. He knows he's black, but I'm even trying to not take that burden off him, because I think that's
You know
something
what?
else we put on our kids.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's a really, really, really good point to touch on.
Yep.
And thank you, KB, for bringing that up at all, because you're right. That in itself, because again, it's not as if we know he's black. We can see it every single time he wakes up in the morning. You see what I mean? So I think just being that, just let the kid be a kid. If he likes this, let's be honest. I think back in the day, like anime and certain Marvel comics or DC comics weren't necessarily considered black, but now it's cool. And I mean, I know I watch Dragon Ball Z. I think a lot of people watch certain anime, and it's fine. You know what I mean? So no, I think certain tags we can sort of let lie, isn't it?
Yeah.
We evolve the culture, don't we? Let's be honest.
Absolutely. Yep.
But yeah, no. So, but I always wanted to get your viewpoint on that. I mean, have you? And this is the question then, because there are conversations that do take place. Again, BLM, a classic example. But is there a time where, as a man, you would actually say, sit down to your kids, say, look, I know you're a man, I know etc. However, you're still seen in this way, and do you have those types of conversations to let them know this is the reality? Because obviously we want everyone to be seen the same, but we know the reality as men.
Yeah. He does certainly know that. Now do you know what? It's not even something he's really. I've had to point it out to him because of their sort of generation, and maybe it's where we live and where he's gone to school and stuff. It's very multicultural. So it's only been really recently, and I say in the last maybe 2 years, that not so much that he's aware that he's black, because he is, but he started to differentiate himself and everyone else. It would just, so if he describes somebody, he would just describe them literally by, so let's say their hair color, eye color, or texture of hair, or how light or dark on the scale, or light or dark they are generally, and compare it to an animate object that would be that color, but he wouldn't do it in terms of race color. Now he's aware of the different races and the fact that we do have a slight more of a stigma on us being black and being male. He has seen some slight examples of it when he's been out with me, but that's been towards me. So he definitely seen examples, and he gets it, and he gets that is, I don't put into his head that that's going to happen to him, because I don't want that to be the forefront of his mind. But I do make him aware that it can happen to him, right? So don't be surprised, and if you do get stereotyped. But if this does happen, I would like you to react like this. Because we got told we got told the same stuff when we were young, and same with you, Marathon Man, or the 2-3 generations above us. Yes, you guys are black. People are going to stereotype you. Other races don't like you. The police are going to harass you. Okay, that's great. That is good. That was good to know, because I would rather have known that or not. But you don't told me how to navigate it. You've not told me where to go, when not to go. You've not told me what time to go
Mhm.
outside, not what time to go outside. You've not told me
Yeah.
what to say. You've not told me not what to say. You've not
Yeah.
told me that you know, because this is, for example, with the police thing,
Mm.
because again, I think it's a
Mhm.
generation thing, but they have things like the police and these sort of social, you know, in the social environment, come to their things like school and speak to them stuff. But I do say to them, look, you're getting to the age now, you're getting bigger. You're going to get certain by certain people as even older than you are, even though you're just turning into a teenager. Prime example, if you do get stopped by the police, again, certain tone, certain, you don't need to be even those to react a certain way. There's certain things you don't have to ask. You can, you do have rights. Things like badge numbers, station numbers, etc. If you know you're
Yeah.
doing nothing wrong.
And don't say
And
nothing
yeah, and I trust
until
in if
until
you've
your
been
parents come.
following, if he's been if he's been following, listening to the way I've been trying to guide him through life, you shouldn't have been doing anything wrong. This is kind of what I'm pushing to him. So you won't be doing anything wrong, will you? Because at the same time, I do try to teach him, yes, you are a black man, but what part of our problem is some of us use that as an excuse to do incorrect things with the fallback of, oh, you're only picking on me because I'm black. I
Right.
don't want him to do that. Still do the correct things.
Exactly.
If you're doing everything correct,
Yep.
and then they pick at you, then they're being stereotypical. Then that's
Yeah.
different. But if
Yeah.
you're doing badness on whatever scale, and then you get caught
Yeah.
up for it, do not call the black card, because right now you're not black, you're just you. I'm sorry, you can't put us
Yeah.
all into it. So I'm trying to put him into that as well, because I think that's part of what a problem is. A lot of the males have this evolved responsibility because they know they can fall on the race card. I don't want my son
And
to
you know,
play no race card.
and you know what? And it's a cop out, to be honest. You know what I mean? It is a cop out because like I say, I do teach my kids, like, you know, no one really cares about you, but it's really teaching them about being a man. And in terms of, like, I worked in the court for a few years, and there is institutional racism. We know that, but generally, you have to, like I said, if you're approached by the police or something, you need to act a certain way. I mean, don't conform to this gangster stereotype. It's really important. Just carry yourself in a reasonable way, and most times you'll be okay. And I've even spoke to him. I know there's this big thing about Pookie and Ray Rays and suits and things like that, but I've told him that, you know, if you do wear certain things, you are going to be stereotyped, and it's true. And I even I was saying, like, I've been to his school sometimes, and I just dress casual, and I say to him, if I wear a suit to your school, your teacher treats me different. It's just the way it is. Do you know what I mean? So you got to just kind of be sensible and clever in certain things. You can't look like Little Wayne and think people are not going to, you know, treat you a certain way. Because like my big son, he started to have them, you know, them freaking long, you know, them kind of, I don't even know what
Locks.
kind of hairstyle it is. Yeah, so yeah, some kind
Locks.
of style.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, but you know, you got to be careful because people are going to treat you a certain way. You need to be, because that's just the way it is. And it's the same with, even if it's like the
What?
white guy at work I was working with, and he used to be like a punk. And he said, oh, he used to be like have like a punk hairstyle, like a Mohican. And they were telling me every time he'll go in certain places, they'll stop him and this and that. So it's the same with all races. If you're kind of like a skinhead or, you know, a punk, you're going to be looked at different. And it's the same with it when you're black. If you're dressing like a, you know, a rap superstar, you know, you're going to get treated, especially as a black man. You have to be careful. I think it's a bit different for black women. For black men, even though black women will get stereotyped as well if you're dressing like Nicki Minaj or, you know. So you will, if we see a woman dressed a certain way, we're going to make assumptions about that woman. And the same with guys. So we do need to be careful. And I teach my kids that you do need to be careful. You will be judged by how you carry on.
No, it's
We're in this
interesting.
country, it's just the way it is.
And this is the
And
interesting
we have
thing.
to accept that. Yeah.
And this is what I was going to say. And this is the interesting thing about, maybe, again, this is how, I suppose, maybe a lot of fathers, or I suppose in case your two example, where what you guys look at is a sense of, okay, we know what the perfect world looks like, but we know what the reality is. And there's certain things in reality you can try and do to minimize certain things. Is it going to negate it? No. Do we know the
No,
situation out there?
minimize
Yes.
it.
So,
Exactly.
or at least if something happens, I know my son ain't wrong, so I know we're going to go hell for leather to say you're wrong, because I know my son or my daughter, they weren't raised that way.
Exactly.
That's another thing as well, isn't it? We can say, I know they weren't raised that way, so therefore, if anything happens, you either get sued or we're coming for you. Because I read this.
Exactly. So like with my son, he's like my little son. He's really good. I've never had to go to the school to really about any issues, but I keep telling him, you don't have to be perfect. It's like, and I know that if something happens at school now, I'll defend him to the hilt, because I know he's not. I know kids can be sneaky, but generally he's not like that. So like I say, it's important to really install good practices. And I think before, people would say you're trying to make them white, but it's not even about that. It's about just being decent human beings. See what I mean? When you're in the public, that's what I want.
Funny thing, Marathon Man, again, this is old school Caribbean. I hear a lot of Caribbeans that the culture is changing now to more westernized, but old school Caribbeans, you weren't even allowed to look at your parents in the eye. That's how serious it was. I know if you looked at your father and mother in the eye long enough, it's like fight time. So there's a lot of things which
you couldn't do that.
There's certain things where I'm like, well, hold on, that's a load of BS, because a lot of kids, they were, again, even when it goes back to Caribbean, they are big on discipline. So this whole notion about being a good child is white and stuff, that's always been a nonsense. It's just a westernized thing, I think, which I don't know, seems to just been contagious. So that's very interesting when you say that.
Exactly. And the way some Jamaican people carry on over here in the UK, I'm like, in Jamaica, you can't carry on like that.
Nope.
They're more British standards over here, the majority of them, you know what I mean? And the way they carry on over, I'm thinking, you're giving Caribbean people a bad name. And in Jamaica, you go into a shop, right there, you understand that kind of mentality. That's some real bush mentality, but that's not how we're really raised in that sense. And it's just a shame sometimes people think that smoking weed and just carrying on bad is part of our culture. They love the Queen in Jamaica, man.
No. Do you know when I go over to any sort of like West Indian island or whatnot, it's always like, when you hear the accent, I think, oh, they love that stuff. I don't know if it's changing now.
Yeah.
One thing I was gonna pivot to is this. Now, is there any sort of skills which you think as men that you think it's necessary to pass down to your kids? Now, again, you both have boys, so it makes probably life a bit easier. But are there any sort of necessary traits that? Because I think a lot of traits that old school men probably we lack nowadays in this generation, things like, I don't know, changing a tire, or things like how to put up a shed or put up a shelf.
Yeah.
Are the things like that you're trying to teach your kid? Maybe you didn't even know, but you learned, and you're thinking that's more of a fishing is another classic example. Are there things like that where you think skills that should be passed down to men that are being lost, that should be bringing back, or we should start? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, do you know what? And I think I had KB talk about this before. It's like I teach my sons how to box.
Sorry, cutting out a little bit again.
How to fight. Okay, can you hear me now? Is it any better?
Right. Yep.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I teach my sons how to box, to protect themselves, how to be resilient when they get knocked down, to get back up. When I'm driving, I make them put air in the tires, put petrol. So I really try, it's important to teach my son certain masculine traits that I know for sure their mum's not going to teach them. So for me, it's really, really important. So it's really about being resilient and not giving up and persevering.
No, I like that. And KB, I know we had a conversation about this before on another live stream. I can't
Yeah,
remember
we did.
It was. But similar question to you then, KB. Do you have any sort of things you're like, I'm going to make sure that my kids learn this, even if I didn't know it when I was younger, or anything which you think that's a good skill that fathers should have the almost the rites of passage, that fathers should pass this down? You know what I mean? Is there anything like that you?
Oh yeah, and I think we did talk about this before. I was smiling when you were saying that because I was thinking, yeah, I recognize this conversation. No, very similar to excuse me, Marathon Man. Physical attributes again. Similar. I teach my son how to box. We both box. So physical, keeping him in physical shape. And again, it's a big thing for I say men in particular, keeping in as peak physical condition as you can. First of all, keeping your mind sharp. It's not just structure of the world, but always elevating, always trying to think, always trying to learn. Like you said, realizing that yes, it is just you in this world, but you do have to be multi-layered because you still need to be a leader. You still need to be socially aware. Teaching him to be confident in everything he does, even in terms of his stature. Walk with your head up. Speak to people with eye contact. Make sure you give firm handshakes. Little tiny nuances that will get you through life. Every time someone asks you a question, don't even if it's a small question, don't answer to just answer. If you need to think. If you need a second, because it could be a very bad decision. Things like that. And again, sort of like I think I said it earlier, I'm teaching him to be, now I'm the first one up. I'm trying to get him to be the first one up now with me. And now he's getting to the routine. Okay, Dad, what we're doing, and it might not be anything. It might just be, a quick little run around the garden, or it might be something we're doing downstairs, or just preparing for school, or something like that. Or do you know what? Go warm up the car for me, something like that. Little 5-minute job, but he's up. Oh wait, do I need to walk the car, Dad? It needs half an hour, right? Do I need to walk? So he's already getting it like, okay, this needs to be done this time. So again, structure using this time, but also things like recovery time as well, because men a lot of time is go. So again, I'm trying to teach him that also sleep is important. But even in things like that, it still involves discipline. When you have a certain amount of time to do stuff, or when you have to use just these hours to sleep, discipline yourself to, okay, it's lights out, it's winding down time. It's little tiny things like that. And what matters, you did mention things that would probably be referred to as older school, as in like being handy in and around the house, changing tires. I'm trying to teach him that as well, because again, these are all these things that, like I said, I want him to know his whole household plus 10% more, whether he lives with a woman or he doesn't in the future. And how to navigate through life and structure around. And I try to quiz him and puzzle him and trying to turn everything into a question for him, because he keeps saying, and he's showing signs of being an engineer. So again, it's like, well, you picked a good profession because you're always gonna have to be figuring things out, and that's what life is as well. So I always try to put things in a question. Even when I ask him stuff mentally, I try to ask him, when he comes up with an answer to something, I'll ask him, well, how does he feel about things? How does he feel about that? Why do you think that is? Why do you disagree with that? Okay, you disagree. Why? I don't want to hear it just to know that, because I want to teach him how to debate and structure when he agrees and or disagrees, and articulate himself as well. But without being over imposing.
Do you know what?
It's a lot,
do you know what? Do you know what? That's true as well, because I think a lot of these kids nowadays with YouTube and these games, sometimes they don't really know how to articulate answers. And that's why dads are really important, because sometimes they just say like a one-word answer, and you'll be like, and why is that? I think it's a generational thing.
Oh, you're right.
And also, like, I play chess with my son as well. Like, we play chess. I taught him chess, and I explained to him like chess as a game of life. When my kids were younger, we'll play Monopoly, but we'll play competitive Monopoly. You know what I mean? Where we'll play like a championship, where I would get them a trophy at the end to make them understand about,
winning and losing and competitiveness.
Winning and losing, competitiveness and that. like I said, just look up things like that. I think it really helps.
No, it does, because you know what kills me, and this is what I read, where because when I was younger, we had the thing where even if it was playing football and you lose, or sport, even if you lost badly, we would still say that we lost, like, 10-0 or something like that. It was something ridiculous when we were younger. But nowadays, they don't want, if you lose more than 3-0, they don't want to say anything. They're like, no one's a loser, everyone's a winner. There's so much things now,
Yeah,
which I'm like, man, it's just that whole
exactly.
stuff like competitive nature and things like that, where this is life, isn't it?
Wokeism.
Yeah, and people think, oh, we're trying to build a society which is fair, but no, we're actually harming a lot of situations where,
Absolutely.
when adversity hits, your child is not going to be built to handle it.
Exactly.
This is why when you're younger, you go through certain milestones. So like, yeah, you know what I mean? You're built for it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I like the fact that you're saying, also chess. I remember learning chess from my uncles, and parallels between chess and life is crazy. But no, chess was
It's mad, isn't it?
And the thing is, a lot of times when it comes to men, there's a stereotype about it all being grunt and force, but a lot of men, it's about the mind, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Absolutely, yeah, 80%.
Strategy, conflict resolution. They are things which for some reason, traits guys don't seem to want. It's like, okay, that's mostly traits: how to negotiate, how to logically reason. So a lot of things. Chess is a very, very good component for that. So yeah, no, that's really good. That's really good.
And the thing is, you can actually see their brain developing with chess. It's just amazing because you can play it with kids at any age. So like its brain developing so much, I'm thinking, wow. And it's one thing that you can do at any age, really. Do you know what I mean? Just have a chess game. Like they don't want to play Monopoly no more. They're too big for Monopoly, but we can do chess together, which is nice.
No, it's good. It's just chess is only a 2-player game. That's the only thing. But no, that's.
Oh yeah. Well, my big son, my big son don't want to play nothing right now, but yeah. I don't want to play with me anyway, but it's all good. He's all good. He's 19,
Well, I was going to say, and this is the thing. This is another thing, because by the time they get to a certain age, let's be honest, kids they're all grown and they don't want anything to do with a parent. It's nothing to do with you. It's just they want to be their own feet. Yeah. And it's very good that we try as best as we can do as good fathers. You know this, to be to set them up in the right way. And one of the things which we talked about in another stream, how millennials have gone through things like finances and certain real life issues, which like, unless you've gone through it, it would have been nice to be told, but sometimes you have to go through things. And one thing I want to ask you guys is this: do you, as fathers, do you have a situation where, do you know what, I'm just going to let my child do it on his own to see how he navigates, so he learns a lesson without me saying anything? Because sometimes you can tell someone something, but it's not until you've gone through a situation yourself where it really clicks. Do you ever go for that situation where, because you don't want to smother them, but you want to make sure that they're set up? But are you like this? I'm going to pull back. Do you have a situation where I'm going to pull back? I'm going to let you see what happens.
Do you know what? Like when my son turned about 18.
Yep.
Then I've kind of gave him more of that freedom now. Do you see what I mean? But my younger son now, the kids are growing up so fast. So I think my aim is when he gets to about 15, 16, I'm going to give him more of that freedom because these kids are learning so fast. But so for me, it happened when my son really turned 18. I really decided to really not really go on about certain things, just to really enjoy being with him more than discussing certain issues. But when they're younger than that, I was always really trying to show him what I think is the best way to go. Does that make sense?
No, it does, and it's natural, isn't it? You're right. So, you want to when they're younger, it keys in a bit more, and obviously you got more of a I say responsibility, but they're not a grown adult, are they? So,
but I think that with my 13-year-old now, he's so developed more than my 19-year-old. I know that I won't have that same relationship with him until he's like 18 now. I know that I'm going to have to push him out a lot earlier because these kids, they know they grew up with these supercomputers. They're so advanced in a certain way. And I think it's really important that I want him to be able to manage by himself.
But let me push back on this then, because is there a fear that they're growing up too fast, where actually their brain can't handle the things that they've been exposed to?
Yeah, like
Because social media, because let's be honest,
yeah,
social media nowadays, it's a war zone, isn't it? And
yeah,
I
it's
was going
mad.
to touch on like mental health with the youngers, because I fear, because obviously you want kids to be kids, and then when they get adult, they're an adult. So is there a situation where maybe we need more of an effort to be in their child's life, especially when it comes to social media, because you don't know what that kid's actually being raised on or raised by, especially with, we got so many spaces out there. Do you have any of that fear at all with the youngest, particularly because we're in the age of social media?
Well,
Sorry,
like
gents. Sorry,
go
gents. I
on.
just have to say I have to go.
Yeah, no worries, KB.
What matters? Thank you for having me up. Everybody, please like the stream. It was a brilliant stream. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Marathon Man. And
Yeah, bless up, KB.
What matters? Thank you, bro.
No worries. No, thanks for your time, KB. And again, everyone, people, please make sure you subscribe to this channel, Chat Enough Podcast. I'm gonna put it in on the description box, and I'm gonna try and spam it in the stream. So for sure, make sure that you do subscribe to their podcast.
Man.
So for sure, that's definitely what you need. So is it next show this Sunday? Is it? Sorry,
this Sunday, 7:00. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got some clip bits as well. Like I said, I'll send you some bits anyway on email, like some release bits, and then you can kind of have a look, see what the episode's going to be about and stuff. But yes, this Sunday, 7:00, it's called Mental Health and Upbringing, episode 16. Yeah, please come and have a look, like, subscribe, and yeah, thank you.
All right, nice one. Take care,
KB.
All right,
thank you. Take care, guys. Bye.
But yeah, so Marathon Man then. So to that point, then, do you ever fear then that the children nowadays are getting raised too quickly, as opposed to?
But do you know what? I think it's a battle that really hard to deal with, to be honest, because they are, and you can only manage it a certain way, but it's really difficult. It's really a difficult battle because they grew up with social media now.
Yeah.
Everything like, so they are. I think the best thing you can do is try to make sure they take their breaks, and they're not on it too much, but it is a very difficult subject because all their friends are on it. Everyone's on social media. I don't think that's going to reverse back. I think when they get to like my son's age, there's not much you can do. You got to really catch them early. So for the young kids now, don't know about like 6-7-year-old. That's where you really got to catch them. When they get to like a teenager, there's not much you can actually really teach them in that sense. They're kind of.
Well, I suppose it's a different type of teaching, isn't it? When you get older, I mean.
Yeah. Is it more like I could teach them some, like I said, helping me out with the car, putting petrol in the car, certain things like that, getting them out of the house. But in terms of it, the influence on social media, you got to hope that you've taught them that they're responsible with it. That's all.
Oh no, 100%. And the thing is, there meant to be so many safeguards to try and help your kid not necessarily be on social media. But again, there's only so much you can do. Children, I know when I was a kid, I got past so many different barriers, things. So I you know what I mean? So there's a situation where you just can't, you can't control what your child does 24/7 is impossible. So you just hope and pray that you raise a child in a way that they should go into it. So
and the thing is, they know all the little hacks how to get around it now. You know what I mean? They know better than us. They know all the hacks how to get around. So I'm not going to fool myself in thinking that my son maybe goes on certain things he shouldn't. But yeah, hey, teenager man.
No, absolutely. So it's one of the fears, isn't it? As that every parent has, isn't it? That like things you can't control, but it's just, let's be honest, it's just is what it is, isn't it? They're a human being, isn't it? So they're gonna have their own viewpoints and things like that at all. So no, not at all. Do you ever place any let's say, unfair expectations on your child in terms of what you want the child to achieve? Knowing, I won't say unfair, but high expectations in a view to try and make your child push your child. Is there any sort of thing which you think as a dad, you say, you know what, you're going to do this as a child? I don't know. Do you ever sort of map out your child's life? Some parents, like their fathers, say, you're a doctor, 5 years old, you're an engineer, 5 years old. I don't know. Do you ever have that type of
No, well, I try to influence him in the thing that he's good at. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not going to be like, yeah, you're going to be like the next Paul Pogba or something, you know, do this because he ain't, like I say, he's okay at football, but like just say he's good at boxing, so I'll push that. He's very mentally strong, but I think it really depends. I don't think I'm over. I push him that much, to be honest. I'm very realistic in how I push him. Like, you go to a public school, so I don't expect him to get straight A's, to be honst. He does good at school, but okay. I can't. Like I say, I don't know what you think about this. You might think we should be pushing him that level, but I'm thinking to myself, you know, it's like he's doing better than average in his class, but I wouldn't expect him to get straight A's. And I don't know what you think about that.
The thing is, you know, when you talk to other coaches and they're more on the case of, you know, what, they're gonna make sure their kid get A's. Now, for example, we know everyone's not gonna get A's, but they can, in their household, they're under pressure to get A's, even if they may not get A's. So I don't know whether have we lacked in our, and this is like a community thing. Have we lacked?
But you know what? But you know, I think that's a minority, to be honest. If I think about the kids in school, I think they're that minority, you know, that they don't have no social media. They're studying every night, but the majority, I don't think that they've got that expectations.
But there's a stereotype, there's a stereotype in the Marathon Man. For example, the Indian GP or the Indian doctor named Dr. Patel. There's a stereotype there about, you know, certain doctors or lawyers, the Chinese I know what you're saying. You are right. It's not like everyone gets A's of other cultures, but there's a stereotype there, isn't it? Because that's what kind of, I don't know, in our heads or how we're taught, get pushed through that. You see what I mean? Whereas, what's that stereotype? Is that stereotype that? Not really. Is that because we don't have these people who push? Do you think? I don't know.
I think you really got to be really realistic about it. Go on.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to, and this is what I need to, let me rail around my statement. You shouldn't demonize someone for not getting A's or not being a CEO. That's what I would say. So this is the case where realism hits. You're not going to demonize anyone for not being Paul Pogba. We know not everyone can be Messi or Ronaldo. We know not everyone can be Elon Musk. So I agree with you there. I think it's just a case of, you know, if we need more, at least Elon Musk out in the world, so we need to push as many we can do. So those one or two, or maybe more of us, can be in that situation. You see what I mean? So I agree with you. Don't demonize, because we know, let's be honest, the backbone of most societies, productive ones, are blue collars and middle class average working stiffs. It's not like it's going to be every community has a slew of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. They're anomalies in any culture, but you know.
But you know what?
We want to be more often.
But I think the thing is as well, you kind of know your children as well, so you kind of understand. I want my sons to be better than me, but you kind of understand your children as well. So I think it's really important to be realistic in that sense. And I think a lot of these families who do push their kids, they have specific kids who they would push into certain roles, who show a certain talent in something. I think you really kind of know your children,
but
it kind of like being realistic with it. You know, so you're coming from a working. I know what you're going to say though, because a lot of these Asian families, their parents are not educated.
And not only that, and not only that, they get them when they're young. So let's be honest. 5 years old, we have no idea what your child's going to be good or bad at. We just push them. You're like, oh, I never knew
Yeah.
you could get an A until we pushed you to get an A, and then
Yeah.
you get an A. So, but here's the thing: I don't discount what you're saying. I just think
No,
it's
no, and I understand what you're saying, but I think it's more of a case of it's more of a case of having
because
a
I
strong
think
family in that sense.
yeah, I mean, I think what should happen is once you get to, let's say, 15, 16, you kind of know what your child is at by that age, don't you? But you don't know beforehand. So why not see what your child can do by push them? Then at a certain age, like, you know, we understand where your limit is, because at a certain age, we know what someone's limit is. Let's be honest. So now it's like, okay, cool. All right. We know what you can do. This is your best. Your best is a B. Your best is a C. Get C's. Be productive. You know what I mean? Be a reasonable member of society. Because at the end of the day, someone taught me this as well about grades is not everything. Most people who get A's, A stars, B's, they work for people who, some of them dropped out of school. Some of them, you know what I mean? So there's always a different levels of being pushed, isn't there? And it's sometimes just knowing your child, you know what they can or can't do. Because a businessman, how many do we care about his degree necessarily? No. So,
True. But you know what? It's got to be done early, to be honest, why it matters.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's really got to be done like, you know, before. You got to really push them into that, and that's where intact family units are definitely needed. You've got to be both on the same page, because I think a lot of these children, they don't just get to like primary school and up to secondary school and start to be, you know, productive. They're taught from a lot younger. So yeah, that's I think that's more about family dynamics, because I can't really imagine a lot of these children saying, I want to be a doctor. Do you see what I mean? You got to really be influenced into doing that.
That's the mother. That's the parents who say that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So when you hear that, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, a lawyer, that's the parents talk.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, you need a parent. Yeah.
No child wants to go to be a dentist or something like that. Let's be honest.
you know what I mean? But like, it's nice when your kid talk like that. But that's why you need that. You need to really have the influence of the parents, and the parents got to be on the same page. So yeah, I think
100%.
I'm pretty realistic. But then yeah, we need to do better in that sense as a community.
No, 100%. And I suppose
that's
I
another
don't know
matter.
how you like on time at all. So let me ask this question about do you see the parallels between the roles of fathers, or the viewpoint of fathers, and the where we are with as a community in terms of its strength or maybe weakness? Do you see a parallel there between lack of male role models, etc., with the fact of black community? It's not necessarily, or even society, it's kind of, it's diminishing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's a real, you know, that's a 3-hour conversation, that is. But 100%, like, you can't really have a strong community without strong fathers in leadership. You know, you can't really have that. And yeah, that goes into other issues. But yeah, like I said, it's really hard for these young men to develop without having those type of role models. So yeah, it's definitely an issue, and I think it's a issue with society as a whole. But we can see the results of it now.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And one thing I was going to say this, I didn't want to get into this topic, but let's go here then. When it comes to your son on dating and whatnot like that, have you influenced them based on your viewpoint? Have you sort of said how real have you kept it with your son, or have you let them sort of get on with things and see and let them come to you? Because obviously we have fathers, if they have that talk, I assume.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure I heard a couple of things that you've mentioned, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. But have you had that conversation about, you know, women and obviously the pitfalls of, and just in general, I suppose, then becoming a father, because obviously child's 19, so he's a big man. So
yeah, well, it's yeah, that's a that topic there. Yeah, I think it's really, I've really showed him how to be the most positive, productive man. That's my main aim.
Yeah.
And in terms of relationships, I've told him that it's really important that, like, I've told him the most important thing is to be with someone who's compatible and agreeable, and that's more important, and to really not be, you need to be with the best person for you, best woman for you, no matter the race. So yeah, I've told him that that's the most important thing, you know what I mean? Because, and I've also told him to not accept behavior that's unacceptable. If someone's not nice to you, if someone don't treat you good, if someone's being ignorant to you, don't be with that person. That's the main thing. Because I think sometimes we kind of think we have a duty to to certain people, and I'm saying no. But these young kids are different anyway. They just do what they want to do, to be honest. But if a girl likes you, she's gonna be nice to you. That's basically what I've basically said.
No, 100%. I always think this. You should be with someone who's compatible. You know what I mean? You don't want to be going to be just a combative nuisance, or just and also one thing which I'll definitely, this is irrespective of male or female, is it's the same rules apply, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Definitely protect your seed, protect yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like the last thing you want to be is sired to a partner who is just gonna make your life a living hell. Because once you have a child, you're with that person for the rest of their life, more so than being married and divorced with no kids. You see what I mean? So
yeah, that's hard to kind of explain to a young teenager, teenage boys. That is hard for them to understand. So I think that for me, it's best that they see how I carry myself, and hopefully they'll carry themselves on the same way. I think because sometimes you can talk, but united with women sometimes, it's like it's easy to be, as a young man full of testosterone. It's like it's easy to kind of think, oh, this is not going to happen to me.
Oh,
so you tell them, and you keep telling them, and so far so good. But yeah,
and this is what I was saying. Is there a situation where you have to pull back, and unfortunately they have, if you don't hear, you'll feel. That's always a classic saying. And unfortunately, there are things which unless you don't go through it for some odd reason, as much the phrase is this: a smart person learns from your own mistakes, a wise person learns from other people's mistakes. But you know what?
Yeah.
A lot of people still don't, until they go through it, they're just not learning. And some people still don't learn.
Absolutely. They're not going to learn. Like I said, I've definitely pulled back a lot more than their mum. And I've done that on purpose. Like I said, their mum would be like, why don't I, do this? And I like, no, it's like, I think it's easier for dads to pull back. Because again, it's like, I want him to be the best he can be, and he's going to make the mistakes. But yeah, you have to pull back, and it's really important to pull back. And I think for a lot of these kids nowadays, you got to do it even younger. You got to pull back and let them see for themselves. Yeah, and that's real love. You know what I mean? That's a dad's love. You got to pull back, and if they need you, they'll come and see you. But like that, I wouldn't like, if he's that, I wouldn't be ringing him. Oh, where are you? Are you coming back? You know what I mean? So I ain't ringing him. If I don't hear nothing, I'll be like, yeah, he'll be all right. You know what I mean? But
that's I hear exactly what you're saying. And
like his mum would ring him and that.
Yeah. What? How you do? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say this then. So, are you one of them parents, like those men who, by the time the child gets to 18, you're like, okay, when you leave in the house?
Nah, no, ain't like that. But
okay.
But
Jamaican house,
the thing is,
especially do that. Was it hit 16?
No. But I'm he's at uni at the moment. He's in halls, so I'm really happy about that, because it's the thing is, a lot of these young kids nowadays, they haven't really like we used to, like I'm sure, like, you go town and you go here and you go certain places. These kids now, they haven't really done that much when you really think about it. We think they're doing more, but they're not really. They're like, a lot of the stuff they do is online.
Well, no, you're right.
The
environment's changing, isn't it? Because a lot of people, again, it's a virtual world now, isn't it? So yeah, right. It's a different.
Yeah, it's very. Like I could count on my hands how often my son's like been town by himself. Do you see what I mean? And when I was that age, I was, we would go out all the time. So I was really glad that he actually went away for uni to get that experience. Mum wasn't very happy about it, but I was really happy that he needed to get away because he's 18, and there's a lot of things that that the kids, we think they know a lot. They know a lot about the internet, but they don't really know a lot about going out, interacting, going parties, especially the last few years. Like, with all this COVID business, they had a few house parties, but they're not really. I think we kind of believe that they kind of know more than they actually do. Them kids know about the internet. That's it, man.
No, you're right, and I keep hearing that the Generation Z, their social skills, like you're saying, they're not as sharp.
Yeah, terrible.
When it comes to interviews, they're not looking you in the eye.
Yep.
When they respond to it's
one word answers
or 140 characters or less. There's not that articulation piece at the moment that I'm hearing, and
it's true.
It's a different culture, isn't it, because of that fact? And
it's scary, and a lot of them are like that. So I don't know. I think that's why so much of these young kids want to just try and do an internet business, because it's going to be hard for them to get. They don't really know how to interact. That even though at school they do, but I think we think the development is, they know a lot, but they're not really. Their social skills are not very good. It's true.
There's always something that gives or take. They know more about, again, probably the online world and how to navigate that way. I suppose they can teach you something, but unfortunately, when it comes to the other way around, you can teach them something about maybe social skills or how to navigate this world. Which, there's still a lot of older people out there who you need to be able to engage with on a level which and I think especially for a lot of these, if a boy had a dad who's aware, positive in his life, it would give him such an advantage, even in terms of the opposite sex. You know what I mean? It really does help, because the communication, it seems like it's not a lot of these strong points. So if your child communicates well, you definitely go far. No, 100%. And that's that's something which is very good, isn't it? Because again, talk about fathers and communication. We're not known, again, for being very, even the old school fathers. I mean, I don't know how your father was in terms of opening up, in terms of communicating, but a lot of fathers I heard, they just really didn't open up to their kids as to why they did the things that they did, or you know what I mean? There's always a bit of you respect me as a man, but we're not going to go there. I don't know whether you have more of an open up about. Again, I don't need situation.
Well, you know what? I'm slightly better, but what I've noticed, your kids, they follow what they see,
right,
more than what you say. Do you know what I mean? So it's more important that when my kids are with me, they see me being masculine all the time. So they don't see me showing any weakness. People might say why, but my kids have not shown me. I've seen me show any weakness when I'm with them. When I'm out, when I'm talking to people, they're seeing that positive role model, and that's the most important thing for me. Like sometimes if I'm out, if I'm concerned about something, they're not seeing that. They're seeing me in a positive light all the time, and I think that's the pressure on fathers in general. But I think it's really important that they see their father in a positive light, because you could talk to them to the blue in the face, they follow what they see. And I think that's, even in relationships, I think it's really important that they see you as a strong dad in relationships, not being so there are some relationships where it's not good for the the mum and dad to be together, because they're not seeing their dad in a positive light, and it's really important they see their dad in a positive light.
No, I definitely hear you, and it's interesting because, again, like you're saying, a lot of, like all of us, we're impressionable about things we see. Now,
Yeah,
when you notice your parents or your father, your mother saying certain things, and then you see them do something different, then don't think they don't
yeah,
know this. They do see this. So
yeah,
it's very important that you lead with
yes.
your actions and your how you are first to things. Like you get up in the early in the morning. You know what I mean? It's always interesting. So no,
Yeah, and the thing is, you don't let, you don't let them see certain things that you're doing. It is what it is. You know, I mean, because we're not perfect, no one is, but you don't let them see you just drinking and smoking all that. You don't let them see that. It's important your kids don't see that, and they think that's normal. Like kids smoking all the time in front of your kids. That's not being positive, and it just takes a little effort. I think it's really important because they will follow what they see. You could tell them don't smoke, and you're just smoking all the time.
I
They're not going
know,
to
I know,
listen to you.
and the stats what say if your parents are smokers, you're likely to be a smoker. You know what I mean? There's so many things which you're likely to do things because
Yeah,
guess what? You've seen it in your own life. Even dysfunction. Talking about
yeah,
dysfunction is because likelihood, not all the time. Don't get me wrong, is because we grew up around.
yeah. You've seen it.
So you only see something, so it definitely has an impact on how you're going to walk, talk, and act. So we can't dismiss it. So you're right. You're right. How we act and
It, it,
behave
it,
is the key.
that one trying, like I said, that's the most important thing for a father, really, for your child to see, like you said, you're their hero. Whether you like it or not. Especially when they're young, you're their hero. They think you can't do nothing wrong, and I'm sure they see their dad different from they see their mother. They love both of them, but with the dad, you're their hero. You're the one who picks them up and throws them. You're the one who's always,
You're the
you're
strong. You're the
stoic.
strong
You're
one.
there.
You know what I mean? You're the
You're
Superman.
the
Yeah, yeah,
strong one. Yeah, you're
yeah.
Superman. You've always got money. You've always. That's how they're gonna see you, and yeah, and it's just you have to kind of rise up to that as a dad, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
But it's a
I
lot
100%.
it's a lot easier to do when you've got a supportive partner still.
Well, and this is the thing I'll talk about, this networks as well, because you're right. And obviously, if you don't have that, then do you have a supportive network system? And again,
Yeah, of course.
it's always important that we can try and build that kind of environment around. Just because as much as it's not been, as you said before, men do have emotions, feelings, and they do have vulnerabilities too. And obviously,
Absolutely.
something which we can try and help other men out, which we don't. I don't know. Do you think we're, as men? Do you think we're good at supporting out each other? Do you think we as men do that enough? I don't know. How do you feel about that? Because I have my viewpoints
Yeah,
on it.
no, I don't think we do. We need to do it a lot more, which is why spaces, well, yeah, or even male spaces are important. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that, especially on YouTube, we have platforms where there are women in the space as well, which is fine, but there's not many male spaces like that where men can actually talk about some of the issues they have. We have like the barbershop, and that's really, really important to have them spaces to be able to talk, especially with families not being the community not being strong. I don't think we have enough spaces, and we do need it, and we do need to talk more, especially those from a Caribbean background.
Yeah, I do agree. I think the only thing which I always hate the most is, and this is what my grievance is about the red pill, how it's gone now, is the conversation always devolves around one aspect. I'm like, there's so much more to manhood and being a father, which
What do you mean, women?
yeah, women. It's always
Oh,
about
okay,
women. And I'm like, look, okay,
okay.
they're an aspect of it, but it's like
There's so much more, yeah.
exactly, and we don't even get to the crux of the matter because we're focused on one aspect of things. And again, I'm not saying it's not a key aspect, but we all know what it's about when these spaces get filled with the same rhetoric, and it annoys me the most because they talk about you want male improvement, but when it comes to actual improvement, I mean, I'll even use this live as an example. I think majority of the live in the chat has been women. I think there's not even a couple of guys. Yeah, I think Stanley and Ail, who's in the chat. So big up to you both, who are men. And it's like, you know what I mean? So when it comes to certain topics, men, we have to hold ourselves accountable that we don't support things that we should be supporting. And then we complain about the divorce courts. We complain about things. But when we have situations in which men are the focus in a way that excludes women that we should be focused on, we're nowhere to be seen. And I'm like, we can't complain about one thing. And then let's be honest, when it comes to a situation where we should be making change, or the people who we say are for us should be making change, it's not about that. It's all about one aspect. And it's like, well, it's all about who you can sleep with, who you can't sleep with, who should be sleeping with. So I'm like, bro, I mean, oh gosh.
I don't know. It's like, say you're talking like a higher level conversation, but
it's like man shit. For me, this is like man shit again. It's like they talk about how to be a man, but what's it in context of? To get a woman. It's like, really?
But you know, but there is that school of thought, isn't there? Really, that.
But the
majority of.
So this is where again I think men's greatest weakness lie. And I think if a man can transcend himself to control his smaller head, he will be a powerful man, because there ain't no woman. Because let's be honest, there's only really one player a woman can use. That's her beauty. He's the guy. There's not much else that, let's be honest, a woman has a guy to control him by. But yet it's the same play, same thing happens all the time. And I'm like, it's vulnerable that way.
It's kind of it's kind of the lowest common denominator, isn't it? Really, just sex, because everyone can have it. You know what I mean? I know what you're trying to say, but it's a difficult one, because so the school of thought is everything we actually do is really, for women.
And that's the problem. That's the problem right there, isn't it? Because you're right. I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones. It was
I'm actually watching it now. I'm actually watching it now. So I was watching I'm on the second series.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a scene in there. Have you met the Unsullied yet? If I say the Unsullied, have you met them before?
Nah, I'm only on season 2. I don't think.
But there's a scene in there, and it sums up men in a nutshell. I'm not going to spoil anything, so.
No, you can. It's okay. It's all good.
No, you obviously know eunuchs. They're born without.
Balls. The balls they're chopped off.
Yeah, and the Unsullied are a group of armies of men who that's what they've had been done to them, because it's supposed to.
Okay.
The warrior kinds, and one of the men was saying this. Basically, what is the point? Because everything that a guy does is to get women, get pussy. That's what he was saying. I was like, you know what? He's right. You get a house, you get resources, you get power, you get fame, intelligence. All of this is for one thing. I'm like, bro, but this is what happens, isn't it? So
true.
It annoys me, but obviously there's truth into it. That what with men,
the
most powerful being on the genders, and everything you're doing is for women. It's like, come on, bro, do it for yourself. Let's not worry about women.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they aren't part of the conversation, but it pisses me off. So,
it's true, and it's so this that needs further debate, but it's like and it's kind of the trap card that women use on men, and like the problem, the trap card men use on women is their emotion, because their emotions control them, and with men it's that kind of sexual urge, which is true. But I need to do more research on that, because it's really interesting, because it's true, because sometimes you look at content online, and then you some of the fuckery, you're watching it, you're thinking, why am I watching this for? So I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying this conversation can't happen, but it's just the let's just say the
you need more diversity.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's a reason why I'm like, oh, bro. But anyway, that's just my gripe. But for sure, more spaces where we're active. But again, sometimes for me, the more the real ish that goes on, the real stuff that we need to really focus on to actually enact change. So when it comes to change policies, like we're nowhere to be seen sometimes as men. So we don't help each other with some of the things that we do, and then
okay. So like you're saying, you're talking real topics, and you don't really get the support that you would get for talking about the fuckery.
Well, again, like I said, you use the example of the male space when it comes to black male. What do they want to talk about the most? Let's just keep it real. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know what it is, isn't it? It's the
Yeah,
fuckery,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
listen,
true.
I'm not saying it's not something you should say. Good looking out, dude, for telling me about that. No, you know what I mean? Good looking out for it. But then when it comes to, I've seen there's some good content creators, they come up with different streams that just, mental health or physical fitness or finances. And it's just like the viewership halves. And I'm just like, well, hold on a second. As a man, you should be focused on resources. I thought you should be focused on this, but more so in a sense. But no, it's night and day. What I mean, night and day, it's just night and day, and it shows.
But I think it's really a case of, if you're doing like RP content, the main focus is about, it's about women in relationships, and I suppose there are other sectors for them, other areas, aren't they? Really, do you know what I mean?
But with the red pill, this is the interesting thing, because when we say that, they would tell us,
Yeah,
actually it's about male improvement. That's what they'll bust back and say into it, and I'm like, okay, but when it comes to the male improvement side, no, you know what I mean? It's like, well, they're nowhere to be seen, and they want to talk about women. It's like, well, what is it then? So I agree with you. So it is all about the women, but when red pillers and MGTOW and all that, the history of it, when they first came on the scene, they were telling us it's about us as men, irrespective of women improving. That's what they told us, and that's, I'm like, okay, but when you hold them to it, we know it's a bunch of lies, because everything.
It's a broad, it's a broad church, and I think it's like really just stepping into the red pill. It's like the most common issue is relationships, and then you kind of branch out from that, don't you? But I think it's a broad church, isn't it? Really, the main area that gets the most traction is the women bit. But like I said, there is, I don't know, yeah. I think as well, it's like they're half of the population, so.
Well, no,
and
again, I'm not saying it's not a conversation that has to be had, because you're right. Let's be honest, it's something which is vastly important, but it's just the
I don't know. You think they kind of go over the top, and it's all that's all it is. I know.
It's funny, but yeah. So, but anyway, Marathon, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Tor. I've not really wanted to open the live stream just because I wanted to have a nice conversation about this. In regards to fatherhood, so people in chat, I appreciate you for hanging on for this long. It's been a good talk.
No problem, man. No problem.
I know you guys are fathers and doing your thing in it, so I thought, let me definitely speak to you both in regards to your role and how you feel about it. But no, I'm glad to hear that that fatherhood makes you feel fulfilled. That's a very, very good and powerful thing to say, because it's not often that I hear that enough about fatherhood, in terms of it makes you fulfilled, and that is something which you would recommend that men go through in the right way. Just want to put that out there for people.
Yeah,
in the right way.
And I think it's really important for, like I said, in terms of some of the stereotypes and some of the things we hear about fathers. Like I said, it's not a case of fathers just don't care about their kids, and it's really important people understand that if a dad's not there for his kids, it's not easy. There's that, like I said, I know there's that percentage of ain't shit guys, but it's a small percentage. But believe me, it's not a case of like mothers love their kids more than fathers. It's not like that, especially like when your kids have your features, they do what you do. It's not an easy thing to walk away from a child. So, it's unfortunate that stereotype is there, and some people really believe it's like, he just abandoned me. But it's not an easy thing, and the guys, like the small percentage do that, they have to live with that.
No, 100%, and absolutely. As a man, I mean, I have kids now, but I couldn't imagine doing that, because you're right. It's a child that I helped create. You see what I mean? So I know the child's gonna have DNA. So I couldn't imagine. The only way it could happen is if, again, and this is where it becomes a contentious situation between a mother, where something is all my days, but I couldn't imagine it. I know there will be guys who do this. Don't get me wrong, but you're right. The majority of the guys, I refuse to go down that I say majority of the men do that. Like I won't go down the branch. The majority of women do this. You know what I mean? So I don't want to go down that route. So for sure. And
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
And one thing I was going to say about that is I think it's a combination of men in general, because if you look at some of the shows that depict men in relationships, the men are always dumb and the men are always relying on the woman. Like this, The Simpsons was a classic example of this. Where they're so stupid, and it's like the men are always seen as these babies. These are grown men now. I watch a lot of sitcoms as well. It's like, a lot of these men are seen as dumb, and the women are the ones who's bailing them out. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, or they're the ones who's struggling with everything, and the woman has to come in and help to sort the man out. It's like these things just don't.
Programming, isn't it? Psychological programming, and that's another issue with in terms of society and men.
Yeah, 100%.
And and maybe there's an agenda behind it, but like I said, when you really look into it, it's in a lot of and even with the LGBT community, it's influencing a lot of TV programs and films, and it's just the way it is. And in reality, life don't really work like that. Relationships don't really work if you got like a bumbling, stupid guy. Because women don't like guys like that, to be honest.
And that's it. But programming is real, man. I'm telling you, programming is real. For sure. But Marathman, let me. I've got anything else you wanted to sort of add, or what you think you missed, or thing you wanted to hone in on before I end the stream, anything like that at all?
No, man. It was good to talk about fatherhood, because, like I said, we do need to really change the projection that men or black men don't care about their kids, because and it's really important we understand that you got these no good guys, but remember these no good guys make a lot of babies. So just remember, the majority of black men are not like that, and it's really important people remember that the information's out there, the stats are out there. So if you're not sure, look at it, but just don't believe that because you see like 50 single mothers, that there's 50 ain't shit guys out there. It could be one or two. Yeah.
No, 100%. And you're right. Unfortunately, the damage that one irresponsible penis can do to a population is
cement.
You know what I mean? A woman can be off for like 9 months, give or take, into it, where a guy will still be doing what he's doing for 9 months.
Yeah. So, and some of these guys, man, I know some guys have all like 30 kids. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, this is why I say this, and this is the unfortunate thing I'll put out here before we end it is this the reason why there's more of an onus on men to be really responsible, because of the damage that one guy can do. Because think about it, knowing the damage that one guy can do, isn't it more onus to say, look, guys, you know what I mean, just be more sexually responsible, because you know the damage that one man can do on a population of men. You know what I mean?
But you can't
get around it, can you?
But the problem with that, though, the problem is it's like it's a small minority, and you're not gonna. It's really hard to get that out of society. That is just a small minority. So we like I said, I think we should cut ourselves off from them. But you're not going to stop that. They're going to be that small minority who do that. And if it was like, say, 50% or 51%, then it would be like. But with that small minority, the only thing we can do is just to shun them, cut them off, like what other races, other cultures do, and just say that's not us. But I don't think nothing else we can do about it. They're ain't shit guys. The fact is, women know who these guys are. So what and again, what could we really do as men? All we could do is just tell them it's the wrong thing to do. But there's been this. Yeah, go on.
No, I hear you, and the thing, I don't really disagree with what you're saying. I think it's just a different perspective I have, because I suppose, again, in a 9-month period, a woman may not know that he's impregnated other women because they're not showing yet. You see what I mean? So by the time they all know, they're all mothers. You're like, oh, great. You know what I mean? So, and unfortunately, on the guys, what that means is you're narrowing the pool of women who are available, who's don't have kids because there's 1 or 2 or 3 or 20, 10% of men have screwed up 60+% of the population. You see what I mean? It's like, damn.
Yeah.
So
but
what
then
happens,
it
it has a negative effect on your dating opportunities because you're going to see you're going to have the outpouring of the effects of what I've been responsible, but this dickhead over here has not been responsible. Now look at this, you got all these single mothers out here, and then here we go. You know what I mean? So there's that impact that you have to feed into.
Yeah, like I say, I just we could have a debate. I don't know what. Like I said, the majority of men are responsible, so I'm not really sure what we could actually do about them men as opposed to just really just saying, making them aware that we're not like that and we shun them. There's not really much else we can really do in terms of educating. You think they care? It's just like it's like a hardened criminal. They don't care.
I'll tell them. I'll say this, and this is going to sound harsh. I was saying this when I was at a dinner with some family. And I was saying this: the moment I know a guy or a woman has 2 kids by 2 different male or women, sterilize them. Sterilize them.
Okay.
I'm not serious. I'm not serious. I'm like,
okay.
As a man, again, this is if you've not been married or nothing like that, you sort of qualify the statement. But once you've had multiple kids,
right?
I'm saying 2. That's it. We sterilize them.
Okay. You're going hardcore. You are. I'm not even thinking on that level. You know what I mean? Boy. Okay.
Of course, it'll never happen because it's your human body, sure, right? But I'm
it could do. It could do. But yeah, that's hardcore. That is. I wasn't even thinking on that level there. But yeah, that's an option. Hey, you know what I mean? Who knows?
That's it. Obviously, it will never take up. But this is the thing, isn't it? And at the end of the day, if it's a small minority, then they're the small minority going to feel the pain. Everyone else is not going to feel the pain. That's how I would say it. So yeah. But I don't want them screwing up my situation because they're being a dickhead. You know what I mean? So,
that's interesting. That's really interesting. I haven't heard any. I haven't heard much content on that. That'd be a good. Well, I don't know whether it's really good for YouTube. But that's an interesting conversation.
I mean, it'd be almost like the China one child policy rule, wouldn't it? Where obviously the opposite was population, 1 child, you know what I mean, for the kids. So yeah, that's another stream, that is, man. You need to do one on that because that's got me thinking. That's a really interesting concept, and I haven't heard anyone really say that out loud. No, I hear you. And I know why. And the thing is, this is irrespective of gender, so both men and women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be discriminating. Women ain't shit. Men ain't shit. I'm not going to be one of those people. Oh, women don't do this. No. Women,
okay.
I know family members who purposefully wanted to have a child without a father, just wanted a kid. So I know how it goes. I ain't playing around with that mess. So yeah, both.
That's a really, really interesting concept, man. I'd love to discuss that more.
Yeah, it might have to be a new one, but that's my solution. That's my end all solution for some of these things. But it might be too harsh for people's ears. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Thanks for coming on stream. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for taking your time out your Thursday evening. It's actually St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if you celebrate St. Patrick's.
Oh yeah. Nah, but hey, happy St. Patrick's Day. For who celebrates it, bless up to the chat and why it matters. Keep doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I came back up a little bit sabbatical, so thank you everyone for coming back. Been off a little bit, but yeah, thanks everyone in the chat. Thanks to Marathan Man KB. Thank you as well for coming on there. Please make sure you subscribe to both these channels. Marathan Man, actually, please put your channel in the.
I haven't. I'll put it in. I haven't done no content for a while. I'm
okay.
Working in corporate right now. Yeah. So I gotta hold it down, but I'll be back soon. Marathan Man Podcast.
No worries. I put your channel in the description anyway, just so people can reach it. So I always make sure that happen. I couldn't link you because because YouTube, if you're under 1,000 subscribers, you can't link my channel can't be linked like that. So, but anyway,
no, it's all good. It's all good.
No, but appreciate you joining, KB, as well. Thank you. And obviously, please make sure you like, share, subscribe if you are new, and if you watch on the playback, please do the same. And until the next time, we're out of here. Thanks, everyone.